Welcome back, everybody. Apologies for the small intermission. All you've missed is a formation lap where three drivers have taken themselves out of contention. It might have some slightly ice-cool medium tyres off the starting grid. What we were discussing, though, TK, just as we see a couple of donuts at the back of the grid, how quickly Kareem and Tim McMartin can make their way through.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle between the two of them. Not only have they got to try and secure as many points as they possibly can in the sprint, they've got to make their way through a field, which of course is completely reversed from the championship standings.
It is indeed. The championship protagonist, only two men can win it, and they go from 16th and 17th on the grid. For the first time, but not for the last time in Las Vegas this evening, we await the start of the starting lights. And we do have liftoff nearly. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And for the sprint in Las Vegas, we are racing. Short run down into turn number 1. And how quickly can the main protagonists get themselves up to the front of the field? And Cutter Lucas has had an absolute stormer off the line. There was a V-carb launching it down the inside. And there is Adam Sanderson thrown into the Armco on the right-hand side, losing a whole host of places and dropping from the front of the grid right to the back of it. Tom Bean up into second place. Excellent start for the Season 3 champion, with Safso, the Season 1 champ, on the move as well, battling away with F1 Alex over third and fourth. Kareem, this is potentially it. He's got to try and make his way through very, very quickly, but Ben's got the advantage at the moment, as we see a little bit of front wing damage, and 4 wide just behind.
Yeah, front wing damage, I believe. One of the Hasses, potentially Scott Taylor, as we weave our way through. Team Modic's had a cracking start for the Mercedes, but Kareem, on the other hand, has got work to do still.
He absolutely does. 16th for Kareem. Adam Sanderson now behind him in 17th. Ben up into 14th, making the best of the starts. But Kareem battling away with Razin Chai over 15th and 16th. Big cluster of cars here. Still battling in 6th position. Mike Stasio started from first, lost a whole host. As there's contact now going down to the tight turn number 12. And look at this, jinking all over the place. There's a Haas going slowly. I think Lolanova's been balked a little bit as he leaks a lot of places. But Tom is up into the lead of the race, snatching it off the hands of Cutter Lucas.
Beautiful bit of slipstream from the Alpine there. Worked it to his advantage. Of course, no DRS becoming effective yet until we make our way on towards the second lap. But Tom now has a thing to prove in that Alpine. Of course, missing so many races at the start of this season, he feels like this could be another sprint victory for him.
Yeah, of course, won the sprint back in China a few weeks ago, and into the barrier. Adam Sanderson having the worst possible start. Contact now with Lolanoba, and the two of them are going to find themselves right at the tail of the field. Royal 83's in there. I think the Haas of Scott Taylor may have a little bit of front wing damage. Well, not a little bit, a lot of bit of front wing damage, missing almost the entirety of that right-hand side. Mike Stasio from first down to 15th now also has some front wing damage, I think, come across somewhere in that little skirmish we saw going into lap, or going into turn number 12. Here is Meraki trying to take 9th place away from Formula Kai. And there's the two championship protagonists just behind them outside the top 10. Top 8, remember. Score points in the sprint race. They currently reside in 11th and 12th.
Certainly do indeed. Meraki, of course, a race victor here in Las Vegas. Last time he ran out in Season 8. He knows how to get the job done should it require so. And that's beautiful side-by-side battling, holding off Team Mardik, who want to try and make a charge through. That could allow Karim through. It does indeed, and Karim's up ahead of Team Mardik for the first time in this Grand Prix.
Not just going to sit down and accept it, though. You would imagine the reigning champion tucked up underneath the Red Bull as Kareem sends it up the inside into turn number 12. Ben gets a whack from behind, potentially from Razin, who is now losing places to Datgovitz. I think a couple of cars going off into the runoff area. That almost pitched the reigning champion very much into the barriers, and that could have been a completely different dynamic that we were looking at. But here comes Formula Kareem, trying to get up into the top 10 for the very first time in this Grand Prix. DRS flaps opening. You heard the beep as they come down the straight, neck and neck with Kai and Scott Taylor battling it out in front. Can Kareem try and nab this place down the inside into the final couple of corners? Just, I think, in the ascendancy is the Season 4 champion. Still side by side. Bit of contact with the barrier. Bit of contact with the tyres as well. Tim McMartin smelling an opportunity to pick up a couple of places here. We are going to be 3 wide as we come around the kinked final corner. And it's Tim McMartin with an absolute beauty. Opportunistic as ever. Meraki losing 2, 3 places maybe because Vince is right in there as well. But still, you cannot separate Ben and Kareem.
Meraki was so focused on defending from Karim there, he didn't even notice the storming Team Mardik through the inside of that final corner. Beautiful move for himself. And Karim and Team Mardik once again locked in battle. Horns are engaged as we make our way through this Grand Prix. Lap 3 of 9. Yellow flags further back as that guy Vince makes an early retirement. And I think it's just a yellow flag, but that's in the middle of the circuit.
parked in the middle of the track, and that would have put a couple of eyes on Storks going down into the braking zone and seeing that bright green Aston Martin facing the wrong way. Not good news for their Constructors' Championship push, with M-Sky Z currently down in 15th position. That is not an ideal start one bit as we return to the leading battle. Still Tom leading the way ahead of Cutter Lucas, then the Season 1 champion Safso, with Nick Flies in hot pursuit as well. And then just over a second back to F1 Alex, who might get gobbled up by a couple of cars as those DRS flaps open.
F1 Alex, of course, finishing last week out not well within the points, and I think for himself he claimed it as a bit of a nosebleed situation. Infratic taking away one of the positions from him. I think Ricky 03, also known as Bombardiro Crocodilo, I'm pronouncing that probably horrendously, makes his way through as well. So F1 Alex once again down to P7 and getting a 3-second time penalty to boot.
That is very early to pick up a 3-second penalty. There's contact, big crash at the back. Kareem's out of the race, Ben's out of the race. We didn't quite catch it. But the two that joined Vince on the sidelines, massive crash down into 14, is the two main championship challengers. What has gone on there? Lots of drivers involved. Adam Sanderson's got no front wing. Somehow the safety car hasn't been called out. Diving into the pits goes Skyzy as well. We were waiting for a spark to try and light it up here in Vegas. Kareem and Ben, both gone.
Wow, there's very few times that I'm speechless in the commentary box, and I think this is definitely one of them. Two championship protagonists out in Vegas, and that leaves it all on the line for the final race. The main feature race, of course, considerably longer than this 9-lap sprint, but boy, oh boy, oh boy, if we wanted a spicy finale, especially with the drivers that we have contained within it, I think we're setting up for a rather good one. Gamble on a safety car, or not at all.
Yeah, and it almost suits Team McMardick a little bit more because it means that Kareem can't get any closer to him in the championship standings. But on the contrary, Ben would have liked to try and put a little bit more distance between himself and Kareem. But as it stands, the gap will remain exactly as it was going into the sprint race. And now we can solely focus on the battle to try and pick up a race victory because Safso, the Season 1 champion, on the move and in the groove, pulling out to the middle of the circuit, and is going to take the lead off the hands of the Season 3 champion. Two former champs battling it out right at the sharp end of the field. Cutter Lucas still holding firm in third, ahead of Infratic doing very nicely as Fabio in fourth. Nick Flies doing well for McLaren as well, trying to push their Constructors' Championship cause. He is in fifth.
Yeah, we're going to throw it over to Carl in clip corner. Let's run us through what exactly happens in that moment.
Honestly, I've got too much to work on, guys. You're going to have to bear with me. But first of all, let's just go over the drama of this entire thing. Kareem, both championship contenders, out in the sprint race. You said there are times where you're rarely speechless in the commentary box. The time I was speechless when you said Bombardiro Crocodilo, mate. So, anyway, Formula Kareem, he's in the slipstream of Team Marduk. Now, Ben's going for the charge. He's going for the overtake on Scott Taylor. Both of them flashing, both of them saving battery. Kareem giving Ben a bit of a bump draft to just encourage that impetus to get the overtake done so he can follow him through. As you can see, Ben builds a bit of a gap as Kareem switches to none. And then it's that contact there, as I think Ben brakes a tiny bit earlier. Kareem not expecting it. As a result, contact made. Scott gets pinted on the right-hand side. Ben immediately into the wall, and it's absolute carnage. Kareem tries to rejoin the circuit into the path of Adam Sanderson. And in a flash, both championship contenders, at an absolutely critical moment, bow out in this sprint race.
Unbelievable. Thank you very much for that, Carl. I think we're going to need a video on its own to try and analyse what went on there, because about 10 cars were caught up in that car park. We were talking about car park corner with Hayden Gullis back in Baku, but we found it here on the streets of Las Vegas. Infratic is up into third place. I just saw a kick Sauber going way too deep down into turn number 14. I think that might have been F1 Alex leaking places. Formula Kai now in front of him. The two kick Saubers currently holding the final spots inside the top 8 point scoring positions, as Safso is going to reclaim the lead at the start of lap number 6, away from his fellow former champion.
Oh, someone called the newspapers, because I think there could be a story there with Adam Sanderson taking out his teammate's main contender for the championship. As you see, I think that was Safso getting all loosey-goosey out of one of the corners. Could potentially put a little bit more pressure on a race win hope.
100%. Fabio hasn't won a race in the Create Series before. Is this perhaps the best opportunity that he has had so far? But he's grappling to hold on to third place. Cutter Lucas all over the back of that scarlet red Ferrari. But I think Fabio's just going to hold firm and hold that third position and keep himself very much in the game. Yellow flag called out again. Not sure who it is. I think it is actually Cutter Lucas, who was battling away with Infratic, so maybe a bit of a mistake there. Definitely a mistake, in fact, off the circuit with half a front wing on the car. That is his chance for a very decent haul of points, thrown in the nearest bin that you could find.
There's a lot of gambles going on this afternoon here. I know we're in Vegas, and I know the drivers are excited about the circuit that they're racing, and obviously it's only 9 laps, they haven't got much to lose necessarily. But there's a few too many gambles going on, especially with their front wings. They seem to be paying the price for them.
Well, this is already going to go down as one of the most infamous Creator Series races in history, even if it is just a sprint race, and could be added to that. Safso has not won a Grand Prix in many a long time. I think it's over 2 years since we last saw Safso standing on the top step of the podium. And conversely, Infratic has never won in the Creator Series before, despite being present in all 9 seasons thus far. This could be quite the barnstormer with 3 laps to go as Tom nearly dangles the inside, down the inside of the final corner, which is of course flat out and maybe trying to spook Safso a little bit to force him offline and give himself a run down into turn number 1. Nick flies in 4th, grappling, struggling to cling on to the coattails of the leading trio, and Riccio 3's right in this battle as well for 4th and 5th.
Certainly is indeed. Nick Flies has all the hope in the world, and he has to try and stay attached to the DRS train, albeit I think every single straight he seems to be losing a little bit more time. The corners is where he's making that time up once again, but the deficit that he faces is not necessarily being overcome by his prowess in the corners. Tom's still making his way through, and Safso dealing the pressure well. I wonder who's going to come out on top of these two.
Adam Sanderson picks up the fastest lap of the race, but it's going to be to no avail down in what is now 16th place as he gets out of last, pushing Scott Taylor in the Haas down into 17th and bottom of the runners that we have remaining. Nick Flies, I don't think he's going to get the DRS here unless he has an almighty run through turn number 12. He was very late on the brakes, but that is going to compromise his exit. And it does mean we are going to have what I think is going to be a battle between 3 drivers for a race victory, and it would be a very impressive victory for all 3 of them. Monumental, you might say, as Riccio 3 up into 4th place. Hayden in the presenter's box will be delighted by that, taking it off the hands of Nick Flies. Formula Kai further 1.2 seconds back. Tom, Safso, Infratic, 1.5 seconds clear of Riccio 3 in 4th. We've got a couple of laps left, and who is going to burst through the barn doors and try and pick up what would be a very, very important win for all 3 drivers.
Certainly will be indeed. Safso and Infraticos looking to get both victories after a considerable amount of time for Safso, as you've alluded to earlier. Infratic will get his first ever win here in the Creator Series, where if you class a sprint race win as a win in itself. And Tom, of course, coming back to future glory after his sprint race out in China. But we've got 2 laps to go in this Grand Prix, this sprint race, should I say. And this is going to be fascinating.
How do you play this, TK? How do you play it if you're Fabio? Do you want to get your first win, or do you think you're going to get the mickey taken out of you because the only win you've got is in a sprint race? Tom's already won a sprint so far this season in China, and Safso looking to end quite the win drought of himself, the Season 1 champion. TK, what would you be saying to each of these drivers?
I think you've just got to put your foot to the floor and hope and pray sometimes, especially at a track like Vegas. A win's a win in most people's books. I mean, look at Hayden Gullis. He's got 2 pole positions, both with stars next to them, but he claims them nonetheless.
Got the asterisks, but on the record books, they're going to count. And I tell you what, Riccio 3's coming very, very quickly behind them as well in the DRS train. So we thought that it was going to be a 3-way scrap. It could potentially be, and just pause for a moment, a 6-way scrap with Nick Flies and Formula Kai entering into the fray as well. Safso takes the lead back. We've got just under a lap and a half to go. Infratic at the moment, very happy just to play the spectators game and hold station in 3rd position with Riccio 3, Nick Flies and Formula Kai now arriving on the scene. 6 cars battling. Only 2 of them have ever won in the Creator Series before.
Many a casino along the side of the streets here in Vegas. Let us know in the live chat, wherever you're watching, who your money or your bets are on for this afternoon. 1 lap to go to decide the sprint race results here. 6 cars in contention, and Infratic starts to make his moves.
I think that was actually maybe a bit of a blunder from Tom. Slightly late on the brakes. Almost had to inadvertently dive down the inside of Safso, and Infratic saying thank you very much. An opportunity to get up into 2nd place, which is probably the best position to be coming onto the strip straight to end the lap. Down the inside we go with Tom trying to nab 2nd place back. Riccio 3, can he try and pick up the scraps, potentially looking for a first win in the Creator Series? But it's the Portuguese in the Ferrari up into 2nd position. Sound the alarm bells, everybody. Fabio might be about to win.
Certainly might do indeed. Long straight coming his way as we run down the boulevard towards the final few corners. He's got a twisty straight to navigate first. Safso, who knows his way around a circuit, knows his way around an F1 car, and can defend like a lion as well. Don't count him out just yet, but of course it's such a long DRS straight here. It could be wham bam, thank you, Mr. Fabio Mann.
Here we go then. This is the opportunity. Brain in a jam gel time if you're one of the drivers that's never won in the Creator Series before, but you've got one of, if not the most seasoned campaigner right at the start of this train. 3/10 the margin. Fabio, knees weak, arms are sweating. Here he comes, moving over to the left-hand side of the track. This is an opportunity to win for the first time. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? Safso. There's just enough space around the outside to repel the assault. We were 3 wide behind and we can only just see them in the background. Is it the Season 1 champion? Is it the Season 3 champion? Tom up the inside. Fabio's getting bulked. He moves over to the right. Who is it going to be over the line? It's Tom nicking it up the inside. The top 3 covered by 1/10 of a second, crossing the line sideways with Nick Flies, and it's the Season 3 champion Tom returning to the top step. He won the sprint in China, he wins the sprint in Vegas by 13 milliseconds ahead of the Season 1 champion. Fabio missing out by 1/10. That's the closest he's ever been to a victory, but what a finish.
I have no words to describe that sprint race for this afternoon. Tom came through on the inside, timed absolutely perfectly. He knew he gets the run down. It's pretty much a flat-out final corner, and that was executed to perfection. Fratic, on the other hand, I think he could have just lost his head slightly around that final corner, chose the outside line, or should I say forced to the outside line by Safso, and unfortunately couldn't quite keep the power down.
What an opportunity that was for somebody to get either a first win in many a long time or a first win full stop, and we didn't even see what happened behind because Kai, Riccio 3 and Nick Flies were 3 wide going into the final chicane. You cannot fit 3 cars side by side through there. They tried it and it most certainly did not work, but in the end it is Tom Biener in that beautiful new sim rig coming on strongly right at the end. We thought he lost it. He was 3rd coming out of the final chicane, but he crossed the line 10 seconds later to pick up a 2nd sprint win of the season.
2 for 2 in sprint races this season. Fantastic result for himself. And Tom, why don't you take us through all of the sprint race order?
Quite a lot to get through. Tom from Safso, Infratic, your podium sitters. Formula Kai ahead of Ricky and Nick Flies. Meraki and Razin rounding out the points for the sprint race. F1 Alex just missing out. Ahead of Catalucas, Bonkers, who is Brandon, then Ryan L83 and M Sky Z on his return. Mike Stasio, Lolin Ober and Scott Taylor. Bit of a stink for the Haas drivers. Not good for Mercedes either in their Constructors' Championship charge. Adam Sanderson last of the finishers. Tim McMardock and Formula Cream retiring about 30 seconds before that guy Vince met the same fate. What a sprint race. Hayden and Carl, I mean, you're going to have quite the job trying to analyse that one.
That was brilliant. What a fantastic photo finish right at the end. We'll quickly chat to the drivers in a moment, but I want to get your thoughts, Carl, of that photo finish. Tom just nicking it at the line.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Fantastic stuff. Picked all the right options where he needed to. It all was brewing up ever since Safso and Infratic went side by side, just compromised the momentum. And if you give Tom a whiff of victory, he will grab that bull by the horns, and so he did. Less than 1/10 separating the top 3. If that's the sprint race, I don't know what the hell the main race is going to be like.
Let's quickly take a look. We're going to speak to Tim at Marduk in a moment, but let's quickly take a look at the clip of where it all went undone for both of our championship protagonists. We had Tim at Marduk, Karim, both heading down the Las Vegas Strip, and it all came undone in a huge pile-up. Take us through it, Cole.
It did, absolutely. Now, we've shown Kareem's perspective already mid-race, but here's Ben's perspective of the entire sordid affair. So he's got Scott on his right-hand side. I also had Scott's point of view clipped as well, because what I wanted to know was, did Ben move over and squeeze Scott, hence why he went into the wall and caused a collision, or was it contact with Kareem that put Ben in that position? All the way to the brake zone we go. Here's one thing I want to know. Ben starts braking now. Generally speaking, that 100 board, you'll see it in a moment, wherever it is, there it is. 100 board is your friend. Ben brakes rather early here, and I suspect it's because he doesn't want to plough into Formula Kai, doesn't quite know what his stance on the whole ordeal is. So he brakes a bit earlier. He's got a cheeky friend request, hello. But outside of that, it's then contact behind us. Ben's cursed, never mind. Well, that explains it to a T, really, doesn't it? It's contact from Kareem that causes Ben to then go into Scott and then go into the wall. And I think the funniest bit about all of this is what you'll see in a moment as he tries to get himself out of the car park. Who DNF'd him? It was Skyzy.
It couldn't have writ itself any better. Do you think that this potentially came down to your suspecting that slightly earlier on the brakes from Ben, but of course being aware of drivers ahead of him? And is this what we talked about at the start, where Ben has that consistency over the season and that knowledge of all the races that he's done to be able to take things a little bit easier, be a little bit unaware. Whereas for Karim, this is his first season and expects Ben to brake perfectly every single lap. Is this just showing in today's race?
I think so a little bit. I think in a way it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, in some sense. I think Ben braking early probably caught Karim out. He wouldn't have expected Ben to brake that early and therefore bring himself out of the action of Kai up ahead. But at the same time, Karim was bump drafting Ben all the way up the straight. Of course he wants to get a move on. Of course he wants to make time on the rest of the field and get those crucial points. But I understand why Ben broke early, because he's in the lead of the championship. At this point, it's his championship to lose. He's got the ascendancy. So anything he can do to stay out of trouble, he absolutely will do. I think it's learning in a sense for Karim and for Ben, I suppose, that he knows that now, in the event that there is that bump drafting, he's just got to be a bit wary on the brakes in some sense, but he's right to try and stay out of trouble. In Karim's case, he just has to be careful if he is bump drafting that he isn't caught out.
Huge result for Nick Flies, picking up a 6th. That's 3 points added to his name, and that's going to be very important in this Constructors' Championship with both the main McLaren and Mercedes out of the race early on. Adam Sanderson not getting well off the start and picking up damage and dropping to the back. So for the McLaren boys to pick this result up in the sprint, this is going to make things very tight. I think it's going to be completely even now going into the last race.
You can't write scripts like this, ladies and gentlemen, honestly. I track back in a way to last season, F1 23. Look how chaotic that was. Look, it came right down to the wire, and so it will again. McLaren lead by 1 point. Courtesy of the valiant effort of Nick Flies. Mercedes on 325, not a great race, obviously for Ben because he was out, but also for Adam Sanderson. Getting used to that new rig, it's very difficult to do that right as soon as you try and load up to it. But alas, that is the kettle of fish he's got to deal with. Aston Martin still not far behind. It's still anyone's game at the top. Red Bull 230, Alpine hot on their heels though. Haas not too far behind. Plenty of scores yet to settle here in Vegas.
Lots still to play for as we get into a short qualifying session and a full 100% race. Both championships, of course, still up for grabs. And as you can see right there, they are both really, really tight. Now, we haven't really talked about it too much, but let's talk a little bit more about, of course, well, here's the driver standings, how that changed quickly. So let's just touch upon this. Team at Marduk, Karim, no changes there. Of course, GB isn't racing. He's away. Meraki didn't get into the points, so nothing changes at the top. But of course, all the drivers in the field have their own little battles. And Tom and Zafso gaining a fair few points in today's race. Tom still not on these standings. Oh no, he is there, sorry. He's there in 16th. Got a little bit closer to Scott Taylor and Nick Flyers. Will be looking to overtake both those and finish in the top 15 by the end of the season. It's the only thing that he can really hope for. But let's talk more about Safso and Tom. What a titanic battle both of those two drivers had. Just switching it over, playing the right sort of game at the end. And it almost looked like Infratic was going to get that first race win, albeit a sprint race, here today until Zafso took it away. And we fought. I was cheering. I thought Zafso held on to it. And then Tom, with an absolute insane run on the ERS out of the final corner, took it by a nose.
Absolutely. I've got both perspectives. I've got Infratic and Tom's perspective on all of this, just as an illustration of how close it was. So, Infratic, in the slipstream of Safso, there wasn't a crash on the strip this time, don't worry. Right in the slipstream, using all of the battery possible, every morsel of electrical energy, he's got the inside line. Fantastic news for him. Brakes, Safso pulls alongside, has to leave the space. Immense racing from both of them, by the way. Plenty of racing and respect from the Ferrari and from the VCOB. Safso gets the better traction. As a result, Infratic's line compromised. He's only got 14% battery. But enter centre stage Tom in the big rig, keeping a watchful eye, has a golden ticket on proceedings. He's got more battery in the slipstream of Infratic, pulls to the inside, has space, and is left space courteously just about, not without contact, but manages to nose ahead, courtesy of the racing line. And if that face doesn't tell you how close it was, I don't know what will.
Very smart from Tom there to keep some corner cutting warnings in his pocket, just to take that one little one at the end, not making the overtake off track. That was absolutely beautiful. Right, now it's time to talk to one of our championship protagonists. He's in the interview waiting room, so let's drag him in. We have Karim. Karim, a little bit disappointing in that sprint race, but are you slightly glad that Ben is also out there with you?
To be honest, I'm still super relaxed. I was relaxed in the incident. I'm relaxed now. I just don't get it, really. I don't get it.
What was it from your point of view? How did you feel that incident played out? Talk to us from your side.
Okay, so first couple of laps, well, the only laps I managed to do in that race, I was taking it super chill, braking a little early everywhere, giving room, you know, not fighting Ben too hard, just being chill. And then on the straight before the crash happened, I was actually pushing him along, which, you know, that shows I didn't mind if he overtook them. I just wanted us both to get through the slower cars. And then we get to the braking zone. I leave a gap because I'm like, okay, if I'm right behind him, obviously I'm going to smack into him. And as I said before, I'm taking it chilled. I'm braking early everywhere. And that was my intention going into that corner, which, you know, I feel like I braked early. He braked even earlier than me, which caused the collision, in my opinion. I watched it back. He almost brakes before the 150 board, which is just crazy to me. But yeah, he DNF'd. I DNF'd. Arguably, I shouldn't have DNF'd. It was a bit silly from me. Absolutely horrendous rejoin, but it is what it is. The gap stays the same, I guess.
What's your thoughts now going into this final qualifying session and the race? Are you going to play things a little bit differently if you're tucked up behind Ben again in this sort of situation? Are you going to be leaving a bit more wiggle room rather than trying to push him down the straight?
Maybe. I mean, I think I left a big enough gap on that corner, so I will do the same again. If he wants to brake early, that's on him. But yeah, I guess Inter's pole is up next, and just secure a nice top 5 quali position on the softs as well.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us. Commiserations for the DNF there today, but of course there is still one more race to go. It's still as even as it was going into this sprint race. It's all still to play for. Good luck.
Thank you. No worries, guys.
Okay, let's bring Cole back in. Let's talk a little bit more about that race that's unfolded, and also looking towards this qualifying session that's about to play out. Of course, we go into a short qualifying session. I've got it right this week after thinking it was a full qualifying session. I've been shocked that no one was kicked out in Q1 and it was actually the end results. But it's going to be all to play for in this session. And of course, for both of our championship rivals, they're going to be pushing as hard as they can to get at the front, because as we've seen in Creator Series, if you're in that mid-pack, it's almost no man's land. Everyone's scrapping for every single position, and it's very easy to break your front wing if you make a mistake in qualifying.
Absolutely, and it's again this last week, last F1 24 kind of thing where they are wearing their heart on their sleeve. Pride is at stake, and they will go for any move they want to. It's a content farm, let's be honest, and that's why we love this series. But at the end of the day as well, you end up dislodging yourself and you bring yourself down to other people's level by fighting too hard. So they have to be careful not to be too overzealous, not to dwell in desperation, because that will ultimately kill all momentum that they will have built up. Speaking of qualifying, by the way, there's a pole position and an Inter's pole still to go for. So a couple of points for either Ben or Kareem could just help to swing things a little bit. Just Inter's pole. Sorry, my apologies.
Just Inter's pole, of course. Tom's quickly joined the interview rating room, so let's quickly have a chat with him before they get into the qualifying. Let's bring Tom into the box. Tom,
Hello!
Congratulations on the race win right at the death there. I'm not going to lie, I was cheering for Zafso because he held it very, very well.
To be honest.
But then I was cheering as you came across the line and snuck it by a hair. Talk to me about that race.
Mate, that was crazy. That was literally crazy, man. I don't know what happened there. I literally gave up after they both drove away from me on the straight. And then I was like, you know what? We have an opportunity. I saw them fighting, going into the braking zone. And I was like, you know what? Let's start to save the battery so that we have an opportunity to come back, because I knew they were going to have no battery for the final straight. And I know how important it is to have some pace. And we flipping out the pace. I went to the inside. Some people were crying. Right? Some people were crying. They were like, oh my God, Tom, what are you doing? I showed back the clip. All of a sudden, they're like, okay, you were in the right.
Beautiful, beautiful overtake right at the end. Were you thinking that potentially it was going to get taken away from you from a last-minute penalty as Zaf kind of closed the door, but then it opened at the last minute?
Yeah, so I stayed on the left-hand side. So I overtook Infratic. Then I had my wheel alongside Zaf's left rear tire. And then I don't know if he knew I was there, because obviously it wasn't really an overtaking kind of point there, really. Like, I don't think if I was in his shoes, I would have expected someone to be there. And then kind of the gap closed and closed. I kind of got pushed very slowly over the line. But before that, I was on the track with 2 tires at all times. So I kind of got that warning because of that. I steered back onto the track, so we had a little bit of a touchy-touchy. I don't think it was that much of a touchy-touchy, and I stayed on the inside, which then caused me to just about, like, just a hair to be in front by, like, what was it, 13 thousandths or something. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think at the moment, in the moment there already, I knew that I wasn't trying to cut the track. You know what I mean? Like, I was trying to stay on track. So I knew that I didn't have any mal intentions, but yeah. Looking back at it, I think it was completely fine. It was just crazy. But I also wished Sapso would have won that race. He deserved it, man.
Well, it was a brilliant move from our side in the commentary box. Well done on your second sprint race win of the season. I can see that you're into qualifying now, so good luck with that, and maybe we'll speak to you at the end of qualifying. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you.
Right, it's time for racing, so let's go and head over to your commentary team as we get into qualifying.
Well, thank you, Hayden, and welcome back, everybody, to the F1 Create Series. We're back on track, our cars are out on the circuit, and it's time for qualifying for the main 100% race. And if you're new and you're expecting some drivers to all go out on soft tyres, maybe just take a step back and wait for the Inter's laps to come in. Inter's polar course. The first 6 minutes of a session, a driver who is fastest on the intermediate tyre can get an extra bonus point for the championship, and I wouldn't be surprised if both Team Mardik and Formula Karim are after that bonus point.
100%. Could make all the difference. The gap between them at the moment is 3 points. Could either be 2 points, could be 4 points, could of course stay at 3 points as well. What we should say though is, whoever wins the race, or if one of them wins the race, that will guarantee them the championship, no matter where the other driver finishes. So just keep that in mind. I've also just about recovered from the largest voice crack I think any human being has ever had as the three of them cross the line, which is great. So hopefully we can have something similar in the main race, because that was absolutely insane.
Yeah, hopefully without the voice crack though. Mine goes rather squeaky sometimes, especially if we're in a high octane situation. But we are underway in qualifying, 15 minutes and some change to go here under the lights in Las Vegas. And as you can see, several drivers making their way out of the pit lane, getting prepped and underway for the first of their hot laps. That guy Vince will be one of the first alongside Safso and Ryan L as well, of course, transferring his WRC skills to the likes of the virtual racetrack here this afternoon as he does his first and quite possibly last race on F1 24.
Yeah, one of the OGs of the F1 gaming scene back, well, probably 10 plus years now with Ryan, so delighted to see him making his Creator Series debut. Not as many drivers out on the Inters as I thought there would be. We've got Vince, who we're looking at the moment, on the red strap soft compact tyres, trying to get a decent lap in early on. He's almost flying the flag, really, for Aston Martin in their Constructors' Championship push, reigning back-to-back champions, but now on the back foot going into the main race, sat third behind Mercedes and McLaren, and have a decent amount of work to do. And, well, by that tyre graphic, only 4 drivers are going for intermediate pole.
Certainly are, and of course the bonus point could mean a lot to our championship protagonists. Everybody else, they know they're in it actually primarily for race position, or start position should I say. Of course Vegas, quite a difficult track to overtake through the first sector. Of course in the third you have the opportunity of dumping a whole boatload of ERS and using DRS as well. So they have that opportunity to run down, as we saw in the sprint race as well.
100%. Fabio coming up to the end of the lap. I think he's going to be the first over the line to cut the beam. The benchmark, a 30.8. And Vince going a 10th.5 quicker straight away.
Yeah, he does indeed. And Fratic, once again, not necessarily being the top of the timing charts. Ryan Al and Safso, both V-Car partners, putting in a 1:32.9 and a 1:33.7 respectively. Razin Chai setting the fastest lap overall with a 1:30.263, making the Alpine at the top step of the podium. Safso, of course, the fastest currently on the intermediate tyres, but let's keep an eye here on Team Mardik, who's getting an awesome tow here by the Kick Sauber that stands in front of him.
Now look at the car that's directly in front of him. That looks like another Mercedes. Team Mardik with a lovely bit of slipstream off his teammate Adam Sanson, who I don't think is on an outlap anyway, although does dive into the pit, so that was definitely coordinated. This point could be very, very important. Safsa with a 33.7, Ben with a 33.4. I don't think Formula Cream's too far behind. He's not far behind at all, but in fact, he's 0.3 of a second clear.
Could be game set in the favour of Formula Karim at the moment. Of course, no further opportunity for either of those two drivers to go faster on the intermediate tyres. Meraki still making his way through, though, with the DRS open, having to get out of the way of one of the Mercedes pushing their way through. Is Meraki going to be able to make it to the line? I don't think he is going to be able to make it to the line, you know.
Very, very tight. I think he may have left this a little bit too late. Well, he definitely has. I just saw that was 12 minutes 30, so Jake is not going to get round. He's going to miss it by about 30 seconds, so his calculations slightly off, perhaps trying not to interfere in the championship battle. And with nobody else out there on the Inters, that means that Formula Cream will take one singular step closer to Ben in the championship. That gap is now down to 2 points going into the race.
Well, it's a small step for Formula Karim. Will it be a giant leap for Karim Kind as we make our way through the race slightly later on as well? And now focus will of course change to soft tyre running, preparation for the main race, and who's going to start with the advantage of being on provisional pole position.
Well, here comes the second Scarlet Ferrari over the line. It is Brandon. And he is about, what is that, a second and a half of his teammate? No, a little bit more than that. 33-1. Slipstreaming going on once more. How have we done that? Grim absolutely delighted. Does take that step forward. I think Nick Fly is maybe picking up a bit of a slipstream from his teammate there as well. Still battling for the Constructors' Championship, of course, the Papaya Boys.
Certainly are. Themselves and the Aston Martins all locked in rather close together. Don't forget the Mercedes crew still in there, albeit being dragged kicking and screaming by their lead driver team at Marduk as they make their way through the championship the Constructors' Championship. Wrong order that I've managed to put those in. But it will be interesting to see how the race affects that. Of course, both teammates need to do well. Should one of them DNF, that leaves an almighty challenge for the other to try and claim Constructors' victory. Watching here with F1 Alex, of course, who performed superbly last week, securing his highest finishing position in the F1 Career Series, a P9, running without ABS and traction for the first time tonight. And I wonder to see how he's going to be able to try and navigate the streets of Vegas.
Yeah, should be able to pick up some nice confidence from there. We've got a Ferrari off at turn 12. I wonder if that is Bonkers or Brandon that has maybe gone in slightly too deep there on an in-lap. Infratic, yeah, just coming out of the pits and, yeah, making a trip into the runoff. Thankfully spots the Kick Sauber. Can't really miss it with that lime green paint job, arriving at some speed. And F1 Alex not going to be put off too much by that. But like I said, nice bit of confidence boost for him. We gave him Driver of the Day a week ago as well.
Certainly did. He's a fantastic driver on his day. I think his F1 performances have been slightly outshone by just how good the grid are at the moment. Let's cast our mind back a couple of seasons. He was one of the most dominant drivers in F2. Actually, I think still holds the record for the most points scored over the few seasons that we did indeed run the F2 Championship. So he's a fantastic driver on his day. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, should we say, in the F1 performances. Sometimes they don't always suit everybody. And of course, sometimes they don't always suit each individual driving style, as F1 Alex puts that car. P11 overall. And one thing I have noticed, and I'm going to pronounce his full name here this afternoon, the Hello Ben Sky Mud Z, as I've already got my words modelled up there, has that Aston Martin in 5th, just behind his teammate, Tekno Vince.
On the money straight away, Skyzy. Obviously famously missed out on the Race Series Championships in Season 5 and Season 6, both of them in slightly unfortunate and probably painful circumstances for him. And with that news now, I think he is perhaps back for a little bit of revenge, maybe.
Certainly is, and we're watching a board with Ryan L. Car currently in P12, 132.9 on the board for the V car, but present runs up towards the final corner. Can they use their rallying skills to try and jump themselves slightly higher up the leaderboard? No, a second and a half slower on that previous attempt, so won't be seeing any further heights at the current moment. Just under 9 minutes left on the clock here in qualifying, and if you are looking in for the first time and saying why are we saying qualifying as a whole, but there's clearly Q1 up in the top left, well, ignore that, folks. We are there for just a short qualifying session, a one-shot attempt, should you will, and the results of this session will determine the starting order for the race.
They will indeed. Adam Sanderson yet to get a time on the board. Coming up to the flat-out final corner. We should mention as well, we will have a lobby reset, so all of these soft compound tyres that they're using up in qualifying will return to their arsenal. Cutting the beam as Adam Sanderson slots in just behind the two Aston Martin cars. Competitive lap there for Adam. Ahead of Infratic, ahead of Lolin Ober, ahead of Scott Taylor as well. Some serious names in there. Cutter Lucas has put in a decent first lap of the session as well. 31.1. Meraki hasn't got a time on the board either. We'll be looking to try and get amongst it with the likes of Razin and Formula Kai.
Certainly will indeed, and of course he would have had a time on the board should he have not, let's just say, misjudged his approach to the intermediate pole position, and he went out slightly too late, didn't have enough time to complete the run, albeit has good history here at Las Vegas. We alluded to earlier that he won the first race out of those two 50% double headers that we had back in round 9 of last season, and then of course finished, I think, 6th or 5th in the second race as well, so does know how to drive this circuit on this game. Not only that, but knows how to drive it well as well.
was pretty decent on it on F1 23 as well. So there's certainly some form behind Meraki. Not going to pick up the championship, but is still fighting for third spot in the overall standings. And diving back into the pits, Razin smashes the benchmark though. First driver into the 129s by some distance as well. 4/10 clear of Infratic, who's jumped up into second place. Fabio is absolutely on it as well. 30.2, currently holding a spot on the front row. Safso with an improvement second time around, also jumping into fourth with a 30.5.
Certainly is, and Kai makes it even quicker for the Kicksab as a 129.7, just pipping out Razin there by just over half a tenth between the two of them, should I say. And Razin Chai, as it stands, will start on the front row, but alongside Formula Kai, who looks to make one of his first pole position entries here in the F1 Creator Series. Lots of other drivers still on laps as well. Of course, Timo Mardik, I think, making his way through, putting the car up to P12 after his earlier Inter's pole attempt, getting an almighty tow from his teammate Adam Sanderson, but wasn't quite enough to be able to try and pull his way through. And yeah, if you are wondering where Mr. Gillen is after his recent F2 adventures, he's running the London Marathon tomorrow. So he might not be here, but he definitely was there.
Yeah, and we of course wishing the best of luck for that, taking place not too far in the future. Skizy improves by a couple of positions and a couple of tenths as well, slotting just ahead of his teammate, that guy Vince. Bit of a slide coming through turn number 1, but matters not. And this has been impressive from Skizy, he has to say. Just been bumped down into 7th as Kareem first representative time on the board with a 29.8, just under a tenth down on Formula Kai. The reigning champion, though, circulating. His gap has been moved back from 3 points to 2 points, and apparently he's 5 seconds down on his delta.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just backing off. I think last time around he put in that, well, I was going to say competitive lap time, but it was a respectable lap time of 1:31. Maybe a few set of tyres potentially, or just a bad run through a set of the corners. Still time left on the clock for Timo Mardik to be able to put in one final run, and as we know, the track does tend to get better towards the end of a qualifying session, so we are yet to see some of the best times coming our way of all the drivers' capabilities. We've still got 2 drivers yet to put a lap time across the board completely, those being Meraki and Nick Flies as well. Well, I say that as Lolly Noba, the other Haas car on the grid, of course, Scott Taylor down in P10. Lolly Noba splits himself and his teammate, puts that car in P5. I'm going to get this wrong every single time. Bombardiro Crocodillo as we make his way through, and this is going to be a fun afternoon if I pronounce the entire name, or I might just call him Ricky.
I'm going to stick with Ricky, and Ricky missing the apex by an absolute mile there of turn number 14. I just want to say how close it is from Lolinoba down to his teammate Scott Taylor in 10th, just over a tenth of a second, separating 6 cars from 5th down to 10th. Unbelievable on a circuit like this. Cutting the beam goes Ricky, finds an improvement by 0.3 per second, not positionally though, staying in P14. And Timo Mardik in the pits as well, didn't opt to go again, just leaving himself with a little bit more work to do than he probably would have liked come the end of this qualifying session, putting slightly more pressure onto his shoulders than I think he needs.
Yeah, it's not a situation that he likes to be in, nor is it one that he's been in very few times before. Of course, if you look back to a couple of rounds ago, of course, you swapping position with your teammate, himself and Adam Sanderson, started further towards the back, I believe in Japan, where himself and Gillen lined up alongside each other on the grid towards the back. But it is a normal, well, not a normal position that Timo Mardik finds himself in, usually up towards the front, and will still have an opportunity to put his car a little bit further up the grid as well. We've got 3 minutes and 45 seconds left in this qualifying session, and we are yet to see who's going to take pole position here in Vegas.
What I would say about Ben, to be fair, is though, traditionally he hasn't been the best qualifier. I think he's only got, 2 or 3 pole positions in his Creator Series career, but in recent weeks, I think he's taken a big step forward with his 1-lap pace. I think Saudi and perhaps China as well. I think he was 0.02 of a second away from getting pole position, which isn't something we've seen too much in the recent season from the reigning champion. So that's a big, big improvement. And if he can do something similar today, I think he's going to put himself in a great position, and that'll just boost his confidence as well.
Certainly will indeed. Meraki over the team radio, he's struggling to think about what to do with the battery. And, well, Meraki, I have one suggestion for you. Maybe use it. That might help. Just a little bit. That's the only tip I've got for the drivers out there. If you have battery left, use it and it'll make your car go quicker.
Quite an ironic statement, that, because I remember back to definitely F1 23 and F1 22, Meraki known as the worst battery management driver on the entire Creator Series grid. You'd always jump on board with the then Williams driver and find himself with 6 or 7% ERS at some point during the race.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. I think I, for one, was always the worst as well. I just like hitting the button that makes your car go faster. I just did it one too many times. I think Meraki also had the same issue, but of course the new system here in F1 24, you can turn your ERS off completely. It allows you to recharge at quite a considerable rate as well, but I don't think there'll be much time for charging here in Las Vegas. Not many opportunities to use the brake pedal, but when you do use that brake pedal, you better make sure you don't lock the tyres up, because as we saw earlier, there's, well, normally a car in front of you.
Yeah, make sure you don't press it that tad little bit too late, otherwise you indeed might find yourself entering the gearbox of the driver in front, or indeed the side pod, depending on how far behind you are. Cutter Lucas into the far chicane, taking a little bit too much curb through turn 14, unsettling that Red Bull car. Going to be pulling gears all the way up to the line. And can this be an improvement on his 31.1? Needs to find half a second to get up into the top 10. As he crosses the line, does he find it? Well, finds 0.2 of a second, stays in 12th place, but does get into the 1:30s. And Mike Stasio complaining about the traffic that he's experienced. He is the slowest of all the drivers at the moment, and by quite some distance. Oh no, the Ferrari Bonker's also in the 33s as well. My bad.
Oh, I think Mike Stasio has never been to Vegas before. I think this is easy traffic compared to what they usually experience on the Strip and on the Boulevard as well. But I think that was that guy Vince putting his Aston Martin up to P5. Stasio coming across the line, not improving on that what surely is now his final run. Mike Stasio looking to make improvements, 0.4 of a second improvements, in fact, through the second sector. All important now, run up towards the line, as we do indeed have yellow flags throwing slightly further back. Can the Williams put himself higher than P18? Can he look to try and beat off his teammate as well? He comes across the line, improves to 16th place, relegates Ryan and Bonkers down to 17th and 18th respectively. Team of Marduk across the line, I think on an invalidated run, looks to go again now, being chased, well, rather promptly by his teammate of Adam Sanderson just behind, and of course the Scuderia Ferrari just slightly in tow as well.
I think this is going to be quite an important lap to ride on board with the reigning champion and championship leader. Going for the three-peat in the Creator Series. It took him a little bit of time to get that first championship. Took him 6 seasons, sorry. But once he got the first, picked up a second last time out in Season 8 and could be picking up a third. Decent first sector, 25.8, but needs to find a little bit more time in this middle and final.
Certainly does indeed. It'll be an interesting run in towards the second sector. He's still got Adam Sanderson close behind him, but every now and then you see Sanderson looking for a move down the inside. I'm not sure that's going to be helping his teammate to stand in front of him at the moment. Of course, Adam Sanderson, P11 on our timing tower on the left, and Timo Marduk on, well, in 13th, 2 places behind his Mercedes comrade. Of course, sharing a room at the moment, as Ben does go purple in the second sector, at least according to the track map in the bottom right hand side of your screen. The checkered flag flies here in qualifying. No more attempts shall be began to try and set the fastest lap time, as Safso dives into the pit lane and retires alongside Cutter Lucas. So we'll be next across the line, I believe, a Williams, followed by the Mercedes duo of Timo Marduk and Adam Sanderson.
Well, it wasn't a brilliant middle sector. He was about 3/10 down on Formula Kai, so this might be in the region of a low 1:30 unless he absolutely nails the final sector. Here comes the reigning champion. Important lap to get on the board. Where is it going to put him? It's only 6th at the moment. Infratic, brilliant lap up to 3rd. Tom crosses the line, and he is only in 7th. Razin Chai enters the pits. Formula Kai is down by 2/10. This is an opportunity for Formula Cream to snatch pole right at the death, with his main rival down in 6th.
Well, 2/10 and, well, nearly 3/10 improvement for Formula Karim as he makes his way through the second sector. All-important run down towards the final flat-out corner. Left-hander to try and take. Could he try and close the deficit even more by starting from the front? Yes, he can. Formula Karim will take pole position here in Las Vegas, and the championship hopes for Timo Marduk are surely dwindling now, as there's a 7-place deficit between the McLaren and the Mercedes. A team once united, now divided under the lights.
And what a swing that is, and what a statement as well. He was 9/10, I think, the margin in the end, clear of Timo Marduk. Probably did have a bit of a slipstream from his teammate, but what a statement performance that is from Formula Cream. A quarter of a second clear of anybody else, and 8.5 clear of the reigning champion, who coincidentally is also down in 8th.
Danny, let's run you through the order, and it's Formula Krim that starts from pole alongside Formula Kai, with Infratic and Razin Chai sharing the second row. Skyzy starts from 5th alongside Meraki, with that guy Vince, Timo Marduk, Tom Lolly Noba and Scott Taylor as your top 11. Safso, Sanderson, Cutter Lucas, Ricky 03, Nick Flies, F1 Alex, Mike Stasio, Bombardio, and then starting from P20 will be the other V-Carb, of course, of... mine's completely gone on me now. Over to you, Hayden.
Right.
Thank you very much to the two Toms for brilliant commentary throughout the qualifying. We've got our qualifying order once again. Karim is going to be lining up from the front row, and he's also taken home the Inters pole. How important is that going to be for him to get that extra point and put him only 2 points now behind Ben?
That is the most important piece of momentum he could have hoped for. After what happened in the sprint race, that is the ideal outcome for him. Chasing it, now closing the gap by at least a point, now as pole position. That's the perfect place to be. Like you were saying before, we see in that mid-pack how tricky it is to navigate, how pretty much impossible it is to avoid damage, as we saw in the sprint race, even as early as lap 1. So to be in front with a clear track ahead, that's exactly what he needs.
We've got Formula Karim started from pole, but Team at Marduk should not worry, because I did a little bit of research during that qualifying performance, went back throughout the history of Creator Series and looked up that out of the 103 races that Creator Series has done, the race winner has been won from pole only 22 times. So Team at Marduk should not worry at all. There is still plenty to play for throughout the rest of the race. Of course, you're sitting on Clipbook this evening as well. You're not just my pundit for tonight. So have you got any clips you would like to run us through?
Absolutely, I do. First of all, we talked about how McLaren did some tremendous teamwork. Merc a bit less so. Not the case in this session, though. In order for Ben to try and prize the Inters pole away, albeit to no avail when push came to shove, there is Mr. Adam Sanderson. And if you want a perspective of just how tight-knit of a setup they have, there you go. They're literally in the same office. How about that? You can't write stuff as good as this. Both of them being able to just not have a communication barrier. That's been removed. They're in the same building, and therefore all the ability to orchestrate the teamwork in this session. However, McLaren not wanting to be outdone on Karim's last lap, coming up to sector number 3. He's already nearly 3 tenths up, and then Nick flies. I mean, what a teammate to have this season. Not only has he provided Karim with excellent results in Britain and also given them the ability to have some great pace in Japan in quali, here in Vegas, he's given him the front row ticket at the end of this qualifying session. At the end of this complex of corners, Karim half a second up. You won't be surprised, of course, because you've already seen the outcome. That was more than enough to get pole position for the championship chaser.
Grim is going to be hoping that for next season, going into season 10, that Nick Fly is, of course, his teammate again, but it will be completely new. There will be plenty of changes, I'm sure, going into the 10th season. But Nick Flies has been a fantastic teammate. Whilst he hasn't been able to back up the points, and it's probably made this championship so close with having 2 drivers, carrying the other 2 throughout the whole entire campaign. But he has been able to help in the qualifying moments by giving the slipstream, and you showcase there once again that he's done a fantastic job. That Inters pole point that was given to Karim has, if we look at the Constructors' Championship points, means that McLaren are now 2 points ahead of Mercedes, who went into this sprint race weekend and they were a little bit behind. Nick Flies has put them ahead, and then Karim has just taken them that extra step further. Let's take a look at it now. So these are the team standings. Aston Martin still on 319, and they can still take it. Skyzy has had a great qualifying performance. He's put himself up into 5th, which I am actually very surprised about, because his pace in the earlier seasons of F1 24 was not quite there like when he was on F1 23. But for that guy Vince, he is starting further down the field, only by a few positions. He's in P7, so there is still every chance for those 2 drivers to snatch it at the last second.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with you. And every little helps for McLaren. Every point's going to count tonight. Again, another piece of momentum swinging in favour of the Papaya Pros this evening. It's not all said and done, though, by any means. We've got 50 laps of Vegas. We've got chaos and conundrums to be thrown about. We've got plenty of rapturous racecraft, and also, potentially, who dares best to deal with the dark arts of defence? We shall all soon see. But Ben's still with the ascendancy. His job is to get ahead of Karim. But from 8th on the grid, at this stage, you would think, tall order. But you never know.
Well, if he wants to do that, he's got to go through Skyzy first. And Skyzy took him out in the sprint race, and he's got Hello Ben in his little clan tag in his name as well. And he was teeing up a potential revenge plot, whether that's just to spook Ben in this race, and he's going to race completely fairly like he had done through all the races prior that he's done. We will just have to, of course, wait and see. One driver that I want to talk about now, and I love to rip him. I love to take the mick out of this guy, but I've got to give him his credit today. Put it up into P3 in qualifying. It is, of course, emphatic, showing some really great pace around Vegas. He was strong last time around at Saudi. It's one of his favourite tracks. We're coming to Vegas here today. What can he do from third position? And also, will he put it into the back of someone and break his front wing?
I mean, it's a bit of a toss-up, really, isn't it? But I mean, it's all about survival on lap number 1. He's in a great position. He hasn't got many cars ahead of him. He hasn't got much of a chance of a big concertina happening. That's ideal for him. All he needs to do is stay out of trouble. As we've seen many times, though, that can be a bit of an ordeal. It's another one to add to the list of surprise-ish performances of this season, and we've had quite a few of those this season. Your one at the Japanese Grand Prix being a personal highlight of mine. But Infratic's got a good chance here. He's got the slipstream. He's got the ability to, I think, spring a surprise, particularly on the likes of the Formula brothers, Kareem and Kai. It's going to get spicy.
Shall we speak to one of those now? Shall we speak to our pole position driver? I can see that Formula Karim is hanging out in the interview waiting room whilst we are switching up between the qualifying and the race session, of course, to get all the drivers their new tyres. Karim, welcome back. This time, a little bit happier. Starting from pole position. Talk to us about that lap.
Just a very good lap, realistically. Would not be possible without the best wingman in Creator Series, Nick Flies. I'm surprised I didn't realise he didn't turn on DRS on the main straight so that I could pass him. And he still qualified only 2 positions behind Adam. So he might just be the GOAT.
Well, he's going to have to try and back you up, of course, in the Constructors by going head-to-head with Adam, but of course for your own championship fight. We were talking about it. He has been spectacular for you. I'm thinking back to Silverstone qualifying, and I think for you, you'll have a better memory of it, but I think it's been most races this season.
Yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10, I don't even ask him to do it. Actually, towards the end of the season, I started telling him, no, don't do it. Let me get pole position on my own, just to prove I can do it. But yeah, Silverstone, he completely sacrificed his lap. Similar to what he did today, but Silverstone was another level. But yeah, he is just the best wingman. He's always there with the slipstreams. Inter's lap, maybe not this time, but usually Inter's lap, dry lap, it doesn't matter.
Now, I don't mean to scare you or anything, but we've done 103 races in Creator Series, and those have been won from pole position only 22 times. However, to put it back in your favour, the only person to do that so far this season is you twice. Do you reckon you can make it 3 this season?
100%.
But thank you very much. We're going to wish you all the best as you head now into the race and get yourself ready for a 100% race around Vegas, which I'm sure is going to be very, very spicy indeed. Right, Carl, you're back with me again on the punditry. Let's talk a little bit about that race. We've got, how many laps is it around Vegas? I think it's like 50
laps, yeah.
50 laps around Vegas. So it's a long, tough race around Vegas. The walls are very, very close, and it is a very fast street circuit. What are the drivers going to be looking out for around here?
Just to keep it clean on lap number 1, I think is the big first step that they've got to make. I mean, it's easier said than done at every track, but particularly so at Vegas after all of the chaos we saw in the sprint race. They've just got to keep it clean and put themselves in the best position possible. The other element, of course, being strategy. Now, Vegas, let's be honest, I feel like, and probably you feel like, and everyone feels like, it will breed safety cars. So they've got to make a decision early on. Do they play devil's advocate and hope a safety car will come out, in which case they run the softer compound, get it out of the way, open up the strategy for themselves on the harder compound? Or do they hope that won't be the case? Will they think, oh, everybody perhaps will be a little bit more careful given how much desperation crept in during that sprint race? They've got to toss that up in their minds, but they can't overthink it too much because one wrong move here could swing things big time.
We talk about safety cars, and of course, Creator Series, a safety car is pretty much inevitable in most races that we run around here. Last time around in Saudi Arabia, we managed to get through pretty much all of our safety cars within the first 50% of the race. And we have had a history of doing that. The first time we ever went to Vegas, we used up all of our safety cars very early on. Is this something that the drivers are going to play into their minds? Because a lot of them, I'm looking at Team at Marduk, for example, will usually keep a set of medium tyres for the end for that late safety car, but also keeping a nice set of soft tyres for the end as well. Which strategy do they play it? Do they bank on a late safety car or expect them to get them all over and done with early on and then play it long for the second half of the race?
I mean, they have plenty of sets of tyres to work with because of the lobby reset. They've got all the softs and the mediums to deploy in the world. But like you say, it's difficult to play devil's advocate in terms of when you expect the safety car to come around. Whether you think it'll be really early doors, you get it out of the way, or whether, like you say, there will be that late safety car. Because that's what we saw, just to give you all PTSD, on F1 23. And we all know how that ended. So it's going to be a tantalising spectacle. And, I mean, I can't wait for what's about to happen. It'll be so interesting.
Right, thank you very much, Carl. We were going to see you throughout the race, I'm sure, throughout the many, many safety cars that we get in the race on the clip. But you go relax for a little bit and get yourself ready watching all the streams of all our incredible creators. But for the meantime, let's bring in our commentary team once again. It's the two Toms. It's TK and Tom Wilkinson. We're going into the final race of the season now in Vegas. And if that sprint race is anything to go by, this is going to be a lot of fun, TK.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's going to be a fantastic au revoir, shall we say, not only to F1 24, but of course Season 9 of the Creator Series as well. And what a way to go out and start. Is it going to be a third championship for Ben, or is it going to be a first championship for Karim? I'm getting 2021 vibes about this.
Tom, Skyzy's had an incredible performance in this qualifying session. Of course, he was one of the main protagonists way back on F1 23. Struggled in the earlier starts of F1 24, but it seems like the old Skyzy is back.
I think we're all delighted to see it because that's another drive that can really contend for the greatest positions in the series. If he can get a podium, I think that would be maybe the greatest and the best return that I think we could have possibly seen. And on the contrary to that, he is probably the one driver that Tim Marduk would have woken up and seen was racing on. Okay, this might be a little bit harder than I first thought.
Well, I can see that the drivers are getting ready with the lobby, so I think it's time to hand over to you two to take us through the order we're going to be running in today's qualifying. Over to you guys for the commentary.
Well, thank you very much, Hayden. For one final time here in F1 24, let's take you through the starting grid for today's endeavours. I know it's going to be a fantastic race. Starting last is Ryan L, stepping in for Alex Gillen, running the London Marathon tomorrow, looking to run through the field like his counterpart. Alongside him, Brandon Miles, of course, stepping in as a new reservist. F1 Alex starts from 17th, alongside Mike Stachio, aka TikTok Bottas, looking to try and work their way through the field. 16th has Nick Flies playing counterpart to Formula Karim, trying to make his way to a first championship victory. Ricky 03 starts in 15th place. Cutter Lucas starts alongside Adam Sanderson. Sanderson, of course, sharing a house with Tia McMurdoch this afternoon. Can they work together to try and pull through the victory? Safso, after finishing P2 in the sprint race, looks to try and start a little bit better this time as well, as he starts alongside Scott Taylor in 12th place. It's Lolly Nova and Tom that start our top 10 countdown. Can the Italian and the Dutchman try and pull their way through the field for some points and some podiums? It's Timo Marduk, one of our championship protagonists, that starts from 8th place alongside that guy Vince. Can Ben try and work his way through to make it 3 championship victories here in the F1 Creator Series? Meraki, of course, a winner last time out here in Vegas, starts in 6th alongside M Sky Z, who's made it his life's mission to prevent Ben getting that 3rd championship. 4th and 3rd is taken up by Razin Chai and Infratic, 2 drivers that know each other well and quite often will cause carnage when alongside each other. And then it's Formula Karim and Formula Kai, making it a Formula Squared front row. Kai couldn't quite get his 2nd pole position, but it is Karim who gets his 5th, looking for a 7th race victory here in Vegas to secure his first ever championship in the F1 Creator Series.
What a lineup we've got. How this has been set up is absolutely beautiful. 2 points separating Ben and Kareem. The storylines, Kareem could be the first driver to win the F2 Creator Series Championship and the F1 Creator Series Championship in his first full season. And Ben took him a while, like we said, to get that first one, but he hasn't looked back since. And this could be a run of 3 championships out of the last 4 seasons for him.
Certainly could be indeed. There's lots on the line here this afternoon, and if you want to gamble, which way do you go in terms of strategy? Hayden spoke earlier about the safety cars being used so dramatically early. Last time we ran out in Las Vegas, do you go and hope for an early safety car? Do you play the traditional Creator Series strategy, maybe wait a little bit later and bank on a late safety car? Which way are they going to go? Let us know as well in the live chat at home, not only where you're watching from, but who you're supporting and who you think is going to take home the championship here this afternoon. Tom, which way do you think it's going to go?
logically, I would say that it's Formula Cream's to lose from this position. If he wins the race, he wins the championship. Sounds very easy. We are going to have safety cars. You can guarantee it as we get ready for the formation lap. I would personally be basing my strategy around safety cars. I think we'll see at least 3. We're hearing there may be a little bit of weather late on as well. And Ben, reiterating what we've just said, safety cars are a no-brainer. I think you'd be fighting on one leg, really, if you be a little bit naive and think you're not going to get too many safety cars.
Yeah, I think it could be naivety if you do not believe, if you believe we're going to run a 50-lap race here at Vegas without Bert Mylander's intervention. Just a quick look at the tyres. On the left-hand side of your screen, 3 drivers opting for the mediums. Scott Taylor, F1 Alex and Mike Stachio. Everybody else running the softs at present and hoping and probably banking on that early safety car. Formula Kai and Scott Taylor, 2 drivers, let's just say hitting victim with the early disqualifications here in the formation lap, as Bonkers, also known under the EA name, also gets himself disqualified, maybe slightly unused to the chaos and shenanigans that happen on this formation lap. Sanderson, who starts from 13th, also falling victim, and will start on the cold tyres. But we are just moments away from green flag racing here in Vegas.
This is what happens when you unleash all of these drivers with absolutely no consequences. They are magnetised. They can't help but drive into one another. And Datko Vince and M Sky Z have probably got themselves in a position where they can really make a run for this Constructors' Championship. 5th and 7th. They'll gain some confidence from that as well. You've obviously got the reigning champion that'll be desperate to try and fight his way through as well. So many storylines, like we've said a number of times. Fabio in 3rd, Formula Kai in 2nd. Neither of them have ever won in the Creator Series before. Fabio missed his opportunity potentially in the sprint as we've got an Alpine in the wall. Razin maybe just trying to take a nibble out of the Armco and being joined there by one of the McLaren boys. Not sure which one that is. It is Nick Fly's also taking a chunk out of the barrier. But we have 50 laps to go, not just in Season 9, but on F1 24 as well. And there is, of course, a championship to decide.
Everyone's looking a little bit nervy as they run down towards the final aspects of the grid here. And as you said, 2 drivers already smelling a little bit of barrier on their way to the starting lights. Ryan L will lead or finalise our grid here as he makes his way down through the final corner. Of course, transitioning from the WRC Create Series over towards the F1 Create Series for one final race here on F1 24. He'll make up the rest of the grid, stepping in for Alex Gillen as everybody starts to take their grid slots here in Vegas. We are going to have lights above our heads very, very quickly. We've got 2, 3, 4 and 5. And under the lights here in Las Vegas, the lights go out and we go racing. It's a good pull away from our 2 pole sitters. It's Karim on the outside, it's Kai on the inside, and Karim with a leadable advantage in towards the first corner. Kai stepped further back trying to deal with Fabio, who's also had a good launch off the line. Razin Chai's also there with M Sky Z wanting to try and make an early impression as he falls half a second back off the leading quartet. Meraki and Datko Vince making waves as well further back. We are going to have several 2x2 moments in towards the first sector as everybody else settles themselves through. Meraki and Skyzy there going side by side, and it is going to be the Aston Martin, the reservist that's stepping in this afternoon, who comes out on top. This could be Meraki playing the patient game at the moment. Further down, it's Ricky and Nick Fly's having a good old scrap as we make our way through the first of 50 laps here. Safso getting past Tom, 2 former champions, as Tom returns the favour and puts that Alpine back up into P9. It's lots of first lap moves here, but nothing yet secure for the championship for either driver, Tom.
Yeah, and Ben was under a little bit of pressure early on, had to deal with Tom Biener in the Alpine, just had to try and defend going down into turn number 5, and had a very good riposte and holding on to 8th place for the time being. Did briefly get up into 7th ahead of Vince, but couldn't quite make that one stick. Formula Cream, is he going to relinquish the lead here straight away? Formula Kai moving out to the middle of the circuit and is going to dart past.
Yeah, some battery saving going for Karim here, maybe looking to leapfrog with himself and the other Formula that stands just ahead of him. Meraki now making the move on M Sky Z. The Aston Martin has to relinquish the position on this time of asking, now once reunited with his Aston Martin teammate for this afternoon as that guy Vince goes around the outside. I think that was a really easy and friendly teammate move. I say that as M Sky Z still potentially challenging and trying to hold off Timo Marduk here as Timo Marduk goes down the inside line. He's not going to maybe made easy by M Sky Z, who is still looking for a little bit of vengeance as Tom tries to worm his way through as well. Of course, Skyzy hasn't played the game in a considerable amount of time, done a little bit of practice for this afternoon's endeavours, but not necessarily as much as some of the other drivers on our grid today. Tom makes his way through for P8, and the separation between Timo Marduk and Skyzy comes into full effect.
Hold your breath, Team at Marduk fans. That was a little bit of a nervy moment straight away, starting lap number 2 as Skyzy trying to hold off the assault from the Silver Arrow. But Ben is a wily old fox, isn't he? He knows how to deal with situations like this. And of course, coming out on top, Ryan at 83 with a 10-second penalty for a severe collision with F1 Alex. You only usually see those penalties handed out for a collision under the safety car. So something serious must have happened right at the tail of the field, and that is not ideal at all. Formula Cream down to turn number 5 did take the lead back from Formula Kai. I think these two are going to be trading places quite a bit as the DRS is enabled.
Double place loss by Skyzy there as Sasso and Lolly Nova both make their way through for P9 and P10 respectively on the field. And as you can see, the gap starting to develop on the track map at the bottom right hand side of your screens as F1 Alex over 3 seconds behind Nick Flies in P16. Formula Kai retakes the race lead from Formula Karim as Sasso and Tom going wheel to wheel, and Timo Marduk as well trying to get past that guy Vince, the other Aston Martin that could potentially stand in his way. That's now 2 positions that he's regained in just as many laps if he wants any hope of claiming this championship. Remember, if either of them win here in Vegas, they automatically will win the championship. There's not enough points on offer if one of them comes second.
And that was a really clinical move from Ben. Just saw the gap starting to open up between Meraki in 5th and Vince, who was holding 6th position. Now the Mercedes up ahead, and just got to have to get his skates on a tad to make sure that he doesn't drop out of the DRS train of the quintet in front. Formula Cream taking the lead back, working nicely with Formula Kai, and Infrati just sat underneath the rear wing of that Sauber, very happy to sit in 3rd position for the time being. The same goes for Raz and Chai as well in 4th. 1.1, 1.2 seconds the gap between Jake and Ben. Ben just going to have to work a little bit harder in this middle set to get that time back, but I think he has turned the afterburners on and just about got himself inside 1 second. Will be a little bit touch and go, to be fair.
Certainly will indeed, but obviously there's a long race to go here in Vegas. There's lots of laps and obviously chance still of safety cars to pull anybody back into this. But the soft runners will be slightly sweating, hoping that safety car does come sooner rather than later. We've had a couple of incidents slightly earlier on, of course, YNL colliding with F1 Alex to cause a bit of a collision further back, but no safety car being called out this early as we see Raz and Chai getting the better of Infratic down towards the final few corners here. And let's see what's going to happen. Kai gets past Karim to retake the race lead as well. And let's see who's going to try go a little bit late on the brakes. Are we going to see any early moves here just to establish a little bit of dominance?
Potentially, but equally you don't want to throw it in the barrier either. And we were talking about how powerful the DRS was. Ben lost about 7/10 of a second down that straight, and that's pushed him even further away from the top 5. 1.6 seconds the gap now. So the first real break in the DRS train, and it is the reigning champion and current championship leader that is the Chariot at the front of that train that's going to have to try and charge back towards the Season 4 champion in Meraki.
It is certainly possible, of course, to break down that DRS deficit that he finds himself in the moment, about 0.4 of a second. But Vegas, with its astronomically large straights, due to the fact that it was built, of course, on the streets of the Nevada desert, they will have maybe 2 or 3 opportunities through some of the major corner zones like we find ourselves in at the moment to try and recoup some of that time loss. But as everybody else is in the DRS train, they will continue to pull their way away. Timo Marduk carving the gear deficit he needs to regain DRS, but at the moment still slightly too far out as we do approach rapidly one of the other DRS zones on this circuit.
Yeah, Ben almost needs a bit of a concertina effect to happen in front of him just to afford himself the opportunity to get back with this leading group of 5. He is quicker in the middle sector, got the gap back down from 1.7 to 1.1, but once again is going to miss out on the DRS and that big advantage that you would gain down the strip straight. Can Formula Cream, who at the moment as it stands would win the championship. Of course, there is quite a long way to go. Of course, is going to take that lead back off the hands of the Kick Sauber. Razin, head of Infratic, and Mraki just arriving on the scene as well. Ben now with Tom the car behind. I think he'll be pretty pleased with that. Tom looking like he's got a little bit better pace than Dakar Vince, and that might be an opportunity for Ben to work with his former Season 3 title rival.
Certainly well, and he'll have to hope he can form allegiances and form them quickly, as we saw roughly on board just a few moments ago that, well, the minute amount of battery in that Mercedes power unit at the moment, it was obviously he's been pushing over the last lap and a half to try and recover up to within 1 second of Baraki in front of him, of course. And as he went down that back straight, lost about 0.7 of a second, and now will lose a position to Tom as well. The battery being drained from the Mercedes and doesn't have much left in form of a reply for the Season 4 champion. But Tom makes his way through now to P6. We hear Ben come over the team radio, and there we go. Hope Tom's got some battery to help me. I think the Australian could be looking for a few handouts and prayers.
I don't think he'll be concerned at this stage. Like we said, we are going to see a safety car at some point. Just means that he'll be a little bit further back and a little bit more compromised than he would have liked to be. Where's his teammate, Adam Sanderson, in 12th position at the moment. Nick Flies in 14th. Nick Flies did actually have a pretty good first lap, got up as high as 13th, and Adam Sanderson was down in 16th. So the Mercedes has done really well in the past couple of laps to work his way through. Is now very much looming, in the mirrors of Ricky 03.
Well, I certainly hope he's not mooning in the mirrors of the car in
That would be a
front
bit
of him.
embarrassing.
But Sanders, as he makes his way down through the third sector, wing damage on that Mercedes as well. You saw it, front left end plate, I believe, missing for Mr. Sanderson, unless I'm completely seeing things. And I might be, as he does pass through, and it looked like he had all his wing intact. But there has been a change for the lead once again as Kai makes his way past Karim in towards the final corner to start lap 6 of 50 here. And it is going to be a rather patient game. Surely we'll see some pit stops coming in the near future. Of course, the soft runners will have to come through in the next few moments. We're going to throw it over to Carl, though, in Clipbook Corner, who's got a few things to, well, keep us up to date about.
Yes, I do. We're looking at the start with Tim at Marduk here. He's obviously been making decent progress so far this race. Exactly what he needed to do. And survival, exactly what he needed to do. It all got a bit choppy, though, almost, for a brief moment. Just keeping a close eye on Skyzy and co. running off the racing line. And, you know, there's just so much less grip when you're off the racing line. As a result, manages to get the slingshot, though, on the exit to pull alongside that guy, Vince. Thinking better of it, though, at the end of the straight. Keeping out of trouble, leaving that outside line, or the inside line open, turns to the outside for the next corner, thinks he's warded off the charge of Tom, but no, the French connection comes steaming round the outside, tries a little move, bit of contact made, but when all is said and done, all absolutely fine. Ben surviving in this race and currently having a decent go at it. There has been moments of contact this race, and F1 Alex was one of them. I am sorry. Through towards this part of the corner, he wasn't the one that caused it, actually. Ryan behind misses his braking point by an astronomical amount, clatters into the back of him, and Alex trying to gather up the limited traction he now has to try and become accustomed to. It's much easier said than done, but manages to keep it on the tarmac and carries on with his race. Outside of that, Scott also had a little moment up into this tricky Mickey Mouse part. Looks nothing like Mickey Mouse, don't know why they call it that, but that's not the point. Into the left-hander, I think it looks like he's got some either weird understeer or it was contact from the car behind. I'm more tempted to say it was contact. Either way, front wing damage for the Haas man, a big clout with the wall. As a result, earthquake on his setup. Not the ideal race start for the Haas driver.
Certainly not. Well, thank you, Carl, for the insight and behind the scenes of everything going on amongst the grids at the moment. I'm sure we'll speak to you a little bit later on as well. Just to keep you updated on the race, we're on lap 7 of 50 here in Las Vegas. Not much has changed as Karim and Kai make their way through with Razin, Chai and Fratic and Meraki all in tow. There's a big gap between themselves and Tom. Of course, Team Marduk drops considerably further off the pack as 2.5 seconds is the deficit. We've got Meraki coming over the team radio saying that the turn 12 curb doesn't seem to be his favourite.
No, it's a bit of a horrible one to try and take. If you take too much of it, then it's going to spit you into the barrier on the right-hand side. If you take too little of it, you're going to be leaking time all the way down this straight. So you've got to be incredibly, incredibly precise. Was that a little bit of carbon fibre I saw kicked up just in that second group of cars of Tom, Tim, Marduk, Lolinoba and Datgo Vince? Not sure about it, and we'll continue on as if nothing happened. And Jake is actually very close to the back of the Ferrari of Infratic. Once again, the lead changes hands as Kai gets ahead of Kareem. Ben passing Tom with a helping hand of DRS as well. They're trying to share, but making no real impression on this leading group of 5. Still over 2 seconds off the back of them.
Yeah, they're not able to try and pull themselves forward as much as they would have liked. I think there's some internal battling going on amongst this secondary group, and it's Team Marduk and Tom that can't necessarily figure themselves out as Adam Sanderson and Bombardo Crocodillo, I've said it correctly this time, also known as Ricky 03, makes his way through and considerably off the back of the pack further ahead. Skyzy is hoping to stay into the back of this duo, use the DRS and pull himself through. As Scott Taylor still with that wing damage, looking in the mirrors of Safso as well. Lead changing hands once again, and Karim and Kai DRS swapping to perfection to ensure they maintain the lead of this Grand Prix. And all this is doing is knocking that secondary peloton of Tom, Tim Marduk, Lolinoba and Datguy Vince further and further behind our leading group.
They've almost just got to think about stemming the flow now, because the gap's just growing and growing. They're a couple of tenths a lap slower every lap, which is why it's grown out to 2.5 seconds. They take a little bit of time back in that middle sector, but the DRS sharing really between Tom and Tim McMurdoch is not going to be enough to just propel them back towards that leading group of 5. So this is where Ben's just got to use some of his experience, stay calm, know that the safety car will most likely make an appearance later on in the Grand Prix, and just try and plan your race around that. You've got a bit of a mountain to climb. Maybe you can do something with the strategy to try and get him back into it. Here's what Tom is saying. We've got to be super, super careful now. And Ben's actually under a little bit of pressure from the Italian stallion of Lolinoba.
He certainly is indeed. Can Lolly try and send a move down the inside? It's heavy braking zone approaching them, not often the place that you'd want to go side by side. Instead of looking for the defensive move, Team McMurdoch gets the move past Tom here. And of course, Tom, looking to play the safe game, doesn't want any broken front wings, because that could be chaos as that curb kicks off some debris. Fortunately, not any front wings leaving some of our cars, but it's Team McMurdoch once again into P6. Meraki getting the better of Infratic there through the final corner. Beautiful side-by-side shot as they run across the line to start the 9th lap out of 50 here. And Team McMurdoch once again still not gaining much ground on the drivers in front of them. Formula Kai's over the team radio, and the tyres are still good, according to the Kick Sauber that currently leads our race.
Yeah, be very happy about that. Really interested to see what the strategy battle will be as well. If we do have the safety cars, that's just going to throw an extra few spanners in the works. You would imagine without a safety car, it would just be a traditional two-stop using a couple of the sets of soft tyres they got back from qualifying. Obviously, if you missed it, we had a lobby reset, so all of the tyres that the drivers used up in our 18-minute qualifying session have been returned to them, and they can use so they desire if they wish in the Grand Prix.
A little bit of a slide there from Formula Corinne through the tight left hander, the rear end maybe starting to struggle a little bit on the McLaren. Kai just behind him saying the tyres are good. That could be maybe a little bit of propaganda as well, just playing mind games with Karim as we make our way through the first fifth of this Grand Prix already. Razin, Chai, Meraki and Infratic all having a bit of a race to, well, forget at the moment as they find themselves in the 3rd through 5th respectively. They're just sitting pretty behind the two contenders up at the front and not really wanting to make many waves. They're happy just to be there and probably charging the battery and hoping for a move to be made later. I say that Meraki looks to the inside potentially of Razin. Chai backs out as the other Alpine of Tom makes a move on Team McMurdoch with the DRS assistance, so that puts Tom now up to P6 on the circuit, 2.3 off the back of our front running pack. They are slowly starting to make the inroads they require, but it'll be a considerable amount of time before we see them in this leading pack. Sanderson gets past Ricky further back as well to put the other Mercedes up in towards the top 10 for the first time this race.
And Fabio's just got to be a little bit careful here as well. Bit of a breathing gap between himself and Jake in front. Just has to make sure he doesn't do anything silly or untoward that could push him outside of the 1 second window, because we've seen from the group behind Tom, Tim McMurdoch, Lolinoba and Vince how difficult it is to try and overcome that DRS games that the drivers can play with. The strength of the DRS on F1 24. We only have to say it for one more race, everybody. Thank goodness. And yeah, just closing up again in the middle sets. Don't want to maybe catch yourself a little bit short and fall out of that DRS range.
Certainly don't, and it will be an interesting strategy here on out, and I wonder when we'll start to see the first of the pit stops here in this race course. A few drivers opting the mediums will be looking to go a little bit longer. All the soft tyres, I think, will be hoping for that inevitable safety car around the streets of Las Vegas, but everybody doing rather well to keep it out of the barriers at the moment. We've still got 20 cars running here on the streets of Nevada, and it is Kai from Karim and Razin Chai as your top 3 at the moment. Karim looking to the outside line, will have the DRS in towards the 3rd sector. I think we'll easily retake the race lead here. Formula Kai driving through. We saw him for a half a second there, just briefly, as he disappears away, and Formula Karim retakes the race lead.
And look at this, Lolinoba getting past Ben and Tom are moving up into 6th position. Has he got any pace left in his back pocket to try and make a charge towards the leading quintet? We will have to see. That gap has grown to nearly 4 seconds now as Ben returns to his grid position, and Tom, the car in front of him, with the Haas in front of the pair of them. Formula Car, interesting line there into turn number 1, potentially going to leave himself a little bit vulnerable to the Season 4 champion and the Las Vegas Masters we've seen so far. Big slide there, so maybe the rear tyres not quite as good as he was letting us believe a few laps ago. Battle going on behind as Tom tries to nab 6th place back off the hands of Lolinoba, but for the moment at least we are going to retain the status quo. That is until the Alpine pulls over to the middle of the circuit and it's going to snatch that place back, and Tim McMurdoch following in the footsteps of the former Season 3 champion and moving back up to 7th.
I think this is some of the reason we're seeing that gap start to expand and expand more. Lonnie Noba's not necessarily content with being sat in this 4-car train led by Tom at the moment, of course, the conductor in all of these endeavours. And I think the more he starts to battle with Ben and with Tom in front of him, I mean, Vince is just sitting in P9 at the moment, happy just to be a part of this train and be involved in a potential attack on a front-running pack. But Lonnie Noba's not happy. He's sitting there as if Tom and Team Monaco have got pie and a lap on their pizza, and he just wants maybe to get past them and be done with them.
Wants to disembark as quickly as possible. It'll be really interesting to see as well how much battery the likes of Tom and Tim Malik have got, and that will probably tell us how much they are trying to push back to this group of 5 that have escaped out in front. And there is a change inside the top 2, as for the first time Formula Kareem is deposed of 2nd place, and the Season 4 champion Meraki is now up into 2nd position. Ben does indeed get past Tom with the helping hand of the DRS. Bit of a jink coming out of the penultimate corner, from Formula Kai. And will this be Meraki with his concentration face on, potentially taking the lead? I think he is just a little bit too far back, down to the braking zone of turn number 1. Yellow flag though.
Yellow flag. Safso seems to have gone round in the final few corners, and I think he's collected with him potentially. Well, I say no one else has spun around with him, but it was F1 Alex and Nick Flies that both made their way through. Vince might have pitted a little bit early here. He saw yellow flags, maybe went for a presumptuous pit stop, but alas, hasn't unfolded to Bert Myland's attention. Safo does come into the pits though, and of course that front wing will need changing along with the tyres for the V-Carb driver. Vince, on the other hand, has rejoined our circuit, and he finds himself in 16th. Bonkers just passing him through as we watch the pit stop occur for Safso, also known as PS1 Hagrid, and it will start all the way further down in P19, and both V-Carbs indeed coming in as Ryan L, the other V-Carb, stepping in for Gillen, comes in towards the box.
I think they may have been involved in separate incidents, which is a very interesting feat. Safso, Season 1 champ, back out on another set of the soft compound tyres, and on his way once more. 2 wins, 10 podiums. Unlikely that he will add any more to those this evening. And we've had some very interesting information over in Clipbook Corner. Carl feeding us the info that Ben is minus 2.7 laps on fuel.
If he was up in the top pack, I'd expect that to make sense. He doesn't seem to be running much quicker than most of our other pack. We've seen Meraki take away the race lead. First time that we've had himself lead this Grand Prix, 12 laps in, and Kai and Karim both relegated to 2nd and 3rd on the field. But as you said, Tim and Monaco not necessarily using that fuel advantage to his advantage at the moment. He doesn't seem much quicker, stuck in the DRS train with the deficit, but he seems to be pulling further back as well.
Yeah, and that probably tells me that he's maybe being cautious intentionally, just making sure that he doesn't leave himself in a situation where he has to fuel save and fuel save heavily in the final 10 or 15 laps of this Grand Prix. It was a potential situation where if an early safety car comes out, great, you can get a majority of that fuel back. If it doesn't, can just try and settle into a rhythm, not fall too far back, expect the safety car to come eventually, and then just bring himself back into contention. Into the pits comes Scott Taylor, and there we have the confirmation as well. Tim and Mark saying, I'm not trying to catch the leaders right now.
Yeah, smart play, I think, from Timo Mardik. If he knows what he's doing, he can just sit there, sit kind of happy amongst that top 7. Maybe he's aware that a safety car is definitely a possibility, as that's bonkers, stopping way too early on his marks in the pit box there. I think some of the crew might not have been expecting it, but he did also get a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well, and I think it hasn't been the best day out in the office for the Scuderia Ferrari reservist here in Vegas, as he does tap the ball on pit exit as well. Kai and Karim once again leading this front-running pack. Meraki once again relegated to P3, with Chai and Infratic still in 4th and 5th respectively, still with over 4-second advantage back to the chasing peloton.
And maybe Tom and Ben just started to stretch their legs a little bit. Tom was actually the fastest of this leading group of 9 cars, or 8 cars, sorry, in the lead battle. On the previous lap, he was a 10th quicker than Raz and 4 tenths quicker than Kai and Kareem. Be interesting to see what Ben does on this lap, as diving into the pits, they all file into the pits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in they come. Who's going to pick up the 10-second penalty, the customary 10-second penalty? Well, congratulations, everybody. Round of applause. They managed to stop on their marks and make sure they don't get a speeding in the pit penalty. Ben, Tom and Lolinoba staying out. They're going longer, going for the overcut as well, as Kareem most certainly there was putting on the medium tyres.
I think he certainly was, and that will be a tyre they run slightly longer into this Grand Prix. If the softs have been able to go 14 laps, then we're probably expecting the mediums to be going roughly 20, 25, if not 30 laps here in the Grand Prix as well. They will have to make at least one more pit stop as the yellow flags further back. Safety car here in Vegas, I think. Who stopped on track? Who was that causing all of the chaos? I'm trying to figure it out. Was it Mike Sacchio? Yeah, I think it was... either himself or Ryan causing the safety car there. And either way, Bert Mylander has been called out for the first time this race. And, well, what a time it could have come out for Team Atmonic, Tom, Lolly Nova and Bombardio Crocodillo. Of course, those drivers opting to go longer on their strategy.
What a time. What a time. Team Atmonic hasn't always had brilliant luck this season with the safety cars, but I think he'll be thanking the safety car gods after that one. And this is going to change the entire complexion of the race. A, he's going to get his fuel back. B, he's going to be right on the tail of those leaders, if not in front of them. I'm not 100% sure what the pit lane delta is. We'll see, of course, when they come down and exit pit road. Kareem not very happy. Classic, just classic. He has been incredibly unlucky with the safety cars, it has to be said. And another example of it there.
Well, I think the McLaren team principal could be smashing several pair of headphones at the moment back in their garage. And of course, if you remember back to a situation very similar to this that we alluded to slightly earlier on, and there's no call of match fixing or anything like that. I appreciate a few people in the chat have got their suspicions, but none of that occurring here in the F1 Creator Series. Of course, just a few accidents and a few incidents that happen on the final race. Team Atmonic, Tom, Lolly Nova, the front three in towards the box. How's it going to go for Kai, Karim and everybody else as they make their way through the field? I think you're right. I think the drivers that went a little bit longer will have the opportunity and an option to still maintain the lead. No, I think Kai could actually get out first here as he rounds the pit straight. Is he going to be able to do it? It's incredibly close on pit exit. Karim and Kai, I think, just pip it out, or I think it's going to be Team Atmonic that actually splits the two drivers.
And he's on the soft compound tyres as well, so you do not want to miss this restart. The reigning champion from just happy to sit in behind, hold firm in 6th, 7th, maybe even 8th place, save a little bit of fuel, is now going to be able to unleash the pace that he's got in his back pocket. Those soft tyres have got as well. And we've got a race in our hands, everybody. This is going to be absolutely fascinating. Everybody at home as well, just make sure you put the tinfoil hats away for the time being as well.
Absolutely right. We're going to throw it over once again to Carl in Clipbook Corner. What have you got for us, Carl?
Plenty. Oh, absolutely plenty. Let's talk about, firstly, this whole art of DRS sharing. I mean, obviously, it's what all the field have been doing. The top 5 been executing it brilliantly, prizing themselves away. However, sometimes you get some impatience. Lolin Ober, probably, well, in his own mind, rightly suggesting that actually we need to get a bit of a move on, because what was a 2.5 second gap quickly became 3.5 seconds, quickly became 4 seconds. So ultimately, try and get ahead, deploy some of your pace. If you think you've got it, give it a go. Ultimately, it didn't matter. He was overtaken on the next straight. But you have to orchestrate DRS sharing just as much as anything else in this game here. But obviously, Team Atmonic & Co. reaping the rewards of the safety car. Luck is part of the game, and they have harnessed it to perfection. Safso, he's been in the wars this race. They did have a cheeky double overtake. Firstly on Skyzy, then on Cutter Lucas. Make it up to the braking zone. Hopes the car will stop in time. The front locks horrendously, and he's just a passenger at that point. Clarting into the barrier, as a result dropping down to the back of the field. Luckily a safety car will spare his blushes, and there will be plenty of pickings to be had, hopefully, for the V-Carb driver. Also, just want to touch on a couple of line differences from some of the drivers, particularly at turn number 12. Curbs on F124, most of the time you can annihilate them, but there's a bit of a fine line to tread at turn number 12. Meraki's certainly not a fan of it. Kareem is the first one we're going to watch, of course. It's only relevant we watch the Formula Brothers. He takes only a little bit of curb. Hello, F1 Alex. He's entered the fray. Well, F1 Alex, you're not part of this conversation. Stop it. But he takes a little bit of curb. Kai, on the other hand, though, comes along to turn number 12, and he absolutely annihilates the curb. Car complies beautifully, and away you go. So, there's a fine line between just kissing that curb and going full send over it. Whatever will gain you the most time. But the leaders have done everything they needed to do, orchestrated it to perfection, but a safety car has just put things a little bit up in the air.
Oh, thank you, Carl, and always giving us the behind-the-scenes access to everything that's going on from our drivers' perspectives. And folks, you join us back for lap 16 of 50 here under the Vegas skyline. What a beautiful situation, what a beautiful atmosphere we have for a final race here in F1 24 in the course of Season 9 of the F1 Creator Series. If you are just joining in, if you're just tuning in, we had a fantastic opening stint. 5 cars separated, the other chasing 4-pack. Team Atmonic sat quite happily in P7 and 8 for a considerable amount of this race. Safety car came out, he pitted a little bit longer, and now rejoins in P2. Myself and Tom Wilkinson are taking you through this race.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. What we should say as well, Valley Gamer asking about the rain later on. We are being told that 22 minutes is the time that you're going to be looking for the rain to start to fall on this Las Vegas circuit, which is going to make things even more of a yikes moment for our main championship protagonists. They do not want that extra little bit of unpredictability, that extra little bit of challenge as well thrown in right at the death. They want a straightforward race to the end, potentially even no more safety cars, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm fairly sure we are going to see them at some point.
Yeah, 15 minutes till rain, according to some of the team radios. And I think Kai just dropping slightly further back from the safety car there. No indication that Bert Mylander is peeling in quite yet, or be expect it rather imminently, with everybody else in the field just catching up, with Mike Stachio being the last driver to try and attest to the train. I think we are going to have one more lap here before we go racing. We will go on lap 18 of 50, approaching that halfway mark as the Williams chases down the rest of the field. Will it be Kai, will it be Team Modic that leads in towards the second sector? Of course, it's medium tyres versus soft tyres for the favour of the Australian. And now we're hearing rain in 10 minutes, and that could be as little as 7 or 8 laps.
Wow, that's going to be really interesting. And does that play into Ben's hands? He's on the soft compound tyres. We're not sure 100% how far he'll be able to stretch them. What did the guys do in the first stint? I think they did 13 laps before getting shot of them and putting on the medium tyres. 10, 15 minutes, maybe you'll have to try and stretch those a little bit further. Maybe it'll come before then. We'll have to wait and see. But that's going to be an added dynamic and an added interesting dynamic that we are going to have to pay attention to. Can Ben stretch those soft tyres to the rain? The mediums, you would imagine, will comfortably make it.
They certainly will, and watching with Team Modic here, he regained the lead of the championship last weekend out in Saudi Arabia. Can he become the first back-to-back winner here in the F1 Create Series? That's, of course, talking, I believe, about championships as opposed to race wins individually. But it will be interesting to see, can he claim his third title here this afternoon, or will it go the way of Karim, or will we see them both crash out here like we did in the sprint race?
It's happened before, could happen again. Let's not try and tempt fate. We want a clean but incredibly exciting battle till the checkered flag is waved at the end of our half century of laps for Formula Kai. You would imagine the safety car is going to come in this lap, and he's going to be the driver that will lead us away to kickstart lap number 18, as Mike Stachio has just caught the back of the snake.
He has indeed, and we will shortly see the safety car in this message. Darker166 in the Twitch chat. If you're asking where Brandon is, his EA name is Bonkers on the screen, down in P17. So if you're looking for Brandon, that's who you're looking for. Bonkers, not quite the Dizzy Rascal song, but equally a performance nonetheless. Safety car is in this lap. Race Control have alerted us to that now. Focus changes to the race restart. Kai will lead us away, but Team Modic chasing down on the soft tyres compared to the mediums all around him. Can Karim try and hold on? And will we see another safety car? I'm sure all those questions will be answered by the time we finish this Grand Prix in just over 32 laps time. And of course, rain is still imminently in the future as the dark clouds in the background of this Vegas skyline do boom and reckon. But it's foot to the floor for Formula Kai to get this race underway once again. Karim looks to the inside line, almost pinched away as front wing damage. I'm trying to figure out who that was to. Is that to the Alpine further back of Tom?
I think it's Razin who's wounded and once again falling on the wrong side of the luck. It's definitely one of the Alpines. It might be Tom who's trying to swing it around the outside of Infratic. Got half a front wing on his car, but that is absolutely picture perfect stuff. Fabio might have a little bit of front wing damage as well as he falls through the field from 4th. I think he was down into 9th, and I think I can just see the left-hand end plate missing on that Scarlet Ferrari car. What went on there? Big cluster. Karim saying, what is he doing? Not 100% sure who he's referring to, but he has just about come through unscathed.
I think my assumption would be talking about Team Modic there, trying to pinch him off at the final corner. But of course, if you remember post-2021, you're not allowed alongside the car you're following on the race restart. There's 2 or 3 wide further back as we see a whole bustle of cars trying to get involved. Fabio, of course, down in P10, dropping quite considerably from where he once was at the opening few rounds of this, as Riccio 3 now battling with the Portuguese man, and it's Ferrari versus Williams further back. But up at the front, it's Kick Sauber versus Mercedes with McLaren in tow, and Razin Chai, the leading Alpine at present, I think without front wing damage, as Tom in that full motion sim will be feeling all the effects of limited downforce and limited traction.
Well, we should say, though, this is probably one of the circuits where front wing damage doesn't have that much of an impact. You're going to be quite quick in a straight line, which is needed down the strip straight. And perhaps if Tom didn't have that front wing damage, he would have lost that position to Meraki in the Red Bull battling for 5th and 6th. But as it stands, the Season 3 champion does hold on to 5th position. Now that guy Vince can try and apply the blowtorch to the Red Bull in front. Team Malik back in DRS range of Formula Kai. Big cluster of cars once again cutting the beam. Got the two teammates of the two championship protagonists. Adam Sanson being attacked from the left, being attacked from the right. Deals with Cutter Lucas by forcing him over to the left-hand side, the right-hand side, sorry, of the circuit, and almost off the track. But Safso sliding that RB car around the outside. And Adam Sanson does leak a position.
Our two championship protagonists not having any support from their two teammates. Of course, Sanson down in 14th. It's Nick Flies down in P12 at the moment. We're hearing as well that Meraki is missing an end plate on that Red Bull. And yeah, front left end plate missing for himself. You can see him slowing the grid up. Vince there having to take an alternate line. I think it was Meraki getting slightly late on his brakes. Couldn't necessarily get the turn in that he would have liked. Tom having to correct a mini slide there for the Alpine. And the gap has already started to form. The quartet running through. 3 drivers on the mediums, 1 on the soft tyres, and Tim Mamodik has a championship victory in his eyes. He looks like a man renewed now after this early safety car.
Extra hope that he can see. But Formula Cream is very close to the back of him, coming out of turn number 12 and through the flat turn 13. Just extending that margin, stretching his legs down the straight. DRS flaps are going to open eventually. There it goes, the Mercedes, McLaren and Alpine. And will this be the reigning champion leading for the first time in Las Vegas? No, he opts just to sit in behind Formula Kai for now. Maybe just trying to preserve those tyres if the rain is 15 minutes or so away. Position swapping further back. Bit of contact there as Meraki gets gobbled up down into 14, 15 and 16. Tom coming through. Lolinoba coming from absolutely nowhere as well to find himself into 6th position. That could be 5th by the time we get to the braking zone of turn number 1. But Tom wanting to have round number 2 in this sparring battle. Infratic getting involved as well. M-Sky-Z, don't discount him from this scrap on the soft compound tyre. It's going to be very quick in the early stages of this second stint. But it is Tom that can't quite get himself back ahead of the Haas of Lolinoba. Infratic going wide once again through turns 3 and 4 and can't get ahead of Meraki.
Yeah, can't seem to defend or hold off the Red Bull that does have wing damage as well. M-Sky-Z going 3 wide, getting both positions left and right filled as he headed in towards the braking zone. Infratic has to just drop further back as Ricky 03 gets past Infratic as well. The Ferrari just dropping positions left, right and centre. And I'm trying to look, I think there is wing damage for Fabio there as well. Front right end plate missing for the Scuderia. So lots of cars here suffering with some disadvantage to their setup, some disadvantage in downforce. We are being told as well from Mr. Hayden Gullis in the background, Ben Still is on negative fuel.
Still 30 laps to go though, so he can just try and manage this. That probably tells us as well why he's opting to stay behind Formula Kai. A bit of bumping and grinding going on between Nick Flies and Infratic down into turn number 12. Bit of a bump and run. Safso trying to get involved as well, sink his teeth into the 2 wounded cars, and a couple of places picked up by the Season 1 champion. Now it's go time out in front. Through goes Ben, through goes Kareem as well. Kai from first down to third, Razin opting to sit in behind. And now we have the 2 main championship challengers, the 2 main protagonists, first and second.
2 championship protagonists rain a few laps out as well. This is a story for the ages if it goes the way that I'm quite possibly expecting. Kareem, of course, still with the fastest lap to boot as well. The soft tyre's not necessarily working out for Ben as much as he would have liked as Nick Flies there trying to get involved with Infratic in towards the first corner. The wounded Scuderia Ferrari having to back out once again as the McLaren going a little bit in edgeways and allowing Adam Sanderson as well to try and pick up the fight. The 2 teammates, or sorry, the alternate teammates of the Constructors' Championship run looking to pick up some crucial points for their individual constructors. Of course, they're still a couple of positions out. The rain and, of course, a safety car could still change the way this race comes out. The front 4 continue unaffected at present with Benjamin Daly up in the lead in P1. Formula Karim, Formula Kai and Razin Chai as your top 4. Infratic and Scott Taylor having a scuffle further back as we ride aboard with Adam Sanderson trying to get the best of Nick Flies and Safso.
And you cannot separate these McLaren and Mercedes cars, can you? 12th and 13th, first and second, although in the opposite order with Nick Flies and Adam Sanderson. Nick Flies is shaping up for a move up the inside of Saf, so that would be bold, I think is the best way to put it. Look at this. All over the back of the reigning champion is the man trying to take the title away from him and pulling over to the middle of the circuit. Tim Martin going defensive. Is he just going to allow the McLaren to file through and let Formula Kai follow in the footsteps of the Papaya car also? Yes, he does. Through goes Kareem, through goes Kai as Datka Vince taking 5th place away from Lolinoba.
It's a smart play there from the experienced champion, just letting the moves happen as we see Devon Butler coming over the team radio. Just maybe some exclamations to the drivers in front of him. They love drifting the cars around this circuit, the rear end kicking out probably quite frequently, especially as the tyres and the track start to cool, with rain still on the horizon here on lap 22 of 50. And we are being told rain at any moment, so keep an eye out for those first droplets that will make this track incredibly damp and incredibly slippery, especially on the resurfaced roads in Vegas.
100%. Watch out for the streaks on the halo. That is the first telltale sign that the rain is starting to fall, and we will most certainly keep a beady eye out for that. Adam Sanderson moving over, potentially trying to take 12th place away from the Season 1 champion, but ducking back underneath the rear wing down into the braking zone of turn number 5. 3.2 seconds now the gap between Razin in 4th and Vince in 5th, with this enormous gaggle of cars that goes from Vince in 5th all the way down to F1 Alex in 17th, all in hot pursuit of each other.
No one seems to have separated to a greater degree at the moment. Look at the track map. Look at how many cars are indeed incredibly close together. It's going to be fascinating to see how that pays off, of course, with pit stops imminently on the arrival. We've got teammates close together. M-Sky, Z and that guy Vince. 2 cars, 2 Aston Martins that are pretty much inseparable on the track. And I'm trying to look around, see who else might be facing the double stack. And we could see it slightly further back, of course, with the Alpines. There's a bit of a distance between them too. Kai gets past Karim, as does Timo Mardik for the race lead here. And this is where the DRS games are going to come into their own for the top 4. Razin Chai is sat in 4th, just sitting pretty, waiting for his moment in the spotlight, potentially charging battery as well. Of course, with rain so far, so close now in terms of when it's going to hit this circuit, it's going to be a matter of when, not if, it's going to come, and well, that could change everything.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's me, but is it just looking a little bit mistier? I know the night sky probably makes it slightly hard to work out whether it is about to start raining, but just looking a little bit misty for my eyes in the night sky of Las Vegas. Kai first, Ben second, Kareem third. Razin, like you said, very happy just to hold position in 4th at the moment, not try and break off any of his wing or potentially throw it into a barrier, trying to scrap with one of the 3 drivers in front. Nick Flies, I tell you what, is making some really good progress. He's just relegated Tom out of the top 10, who I think definitely has got some front wing damage, so the Season 3 champion is wounded. Ben a little bit wide there coming through this horrible, horrible sequence of corners. For my money, 3 of the worst corners on the F1 calendar, but we can debate that another day. And Lolinoba is actually taking some decent chunks out of the leading quartet. That gap's come down by 7/10.
Yeah, he's managing to pull it back with every twist and turn of the circuit, especially as you head through Mickey Mouse. That car looks so planted. I think he's going to lose that deficit, or lose the benefit, should I say, over the course of the straights, especially as you run through the 2nd and 3rd sectors here. Lots of straight line speed required, and the DRS not only comes in, but tenfolds that ability to get the straight line speed nailed down properly. As we see Timo Mardik overtaking Formula Kai. Formula Karim follows through as well as they make their way through 1 and 2 respectively at the moment. Tom's come over the team radio, says he can't do a lot more at the moment as he finds himself down in P12, I think with a considerable amount of wing damage on that Alpine.
Yeah, doing a rain dance. We're hearing reports that the rain might be coming down. Let's have a look. Can we see the streaks on the halo? I think we can. Just see a few drops from there. We have confirmation on the camera lens as well. And Tom, the rain dance has worked as Ricky 03 is flying as well. 33.1 fastest lap of the race. Ben has managed to coax those soft tyres to the point where he can get away with sticking on the intermediate tyres very, very shortly. Just needs that rain to fall a little bit harder over the next 3 or 4 laps. And here we go, everybody. The first half of the race was maybe a little bit staccato. I think this second half is going to be very, very exciting.
Certainly will do indeed. Which tyre is going to work better in the rain until that DRS gets disabled? I think the question, or the answer, could be on the mediums. They require a slightly lower working temperature compared to the softs. And we're kind of seeing it here as Karim makes his way through, just trying to line up a move on the Mercedes that stands in front of him as we run down towards the end of the 2nd sector. It's looking more and more critical as we pass through every twist and turn here. Who's going to come out on top? Who's going to be first in towards the pit stops? Of course, you want to come out on top, have a little bit of benefit on the start of the intermediate tyres, and they won't have to worry about using a setup slightly earlier on for the intermediates pole, as the tyre allocation has got reset. Razin Chai sees Ben is struggling. He wants to get past before we head into the series of pit stops.
Yeah, and I think those soft tyres most definitely passed their best. DRS is still enabled. Through goes the kick sauber of Kai. Formula Cream right underneath the rear wing of that lime green car. I think Ben is braver on the brakes than the McLaren. Yes, indeed he is. Holds it around the outside and maintains his spot in 2nd position. Razin wanting to get ahead of the Mercedes, but he's going to have to get a bit of a hurry on because he's 6/10 of a second off the back of Kareem, holding 3rd at the moment. Top 3 covered by 3/10 of a second. Are we going to see any changes down to turn 1?
Let's have a look. All eyes towards the first corner. No, everybody staying in ceremony. That guy Vince leaves the session. Unfortunately, the driver in P5 at the moment facing some connection issues. Tom, Safso, Carter Lucas, Scott Taylor, 4 drivers all in towards the pit stop territory. And Tom, of course, will replace that front wing and have a much better attempt in the second stage of this race. We passed through the halfway mark as Team Marduk wants to get all up in Formula Kai's mirrors, just reminding him that the Mercedes is well and truly there. Karim and Razin Chai still standing in the original 3rd and 4th, just holding on for the time being. I'm sure we'll see pit stops in the next couple laps from our front 4. As the track here gets more and more slippery in Vegas, rear end starting to kick out for a few of our drivers as Ricky 03 gets past the AI of that guy Vince for P6 versus P7 on the telemetry. And I think it's still looking like a little bit, well, certainly still dry territory if they can hold on.
And you feel like Kareem potentially smells blood a little bit here, ducking and weaving right behind his main rival in 2nd and 3rd. Formula Kai able to open the gap up to 0.6 per second. Razin may be struggling a little bit as well. 3/4 of a second, or 2/3 of a second, sorry, now off the back of the Papaya McLaren car. The DRS is still enabled. That's usually the telltale sign for the optimal point to jump into the pits and put on a set of the intermediate tyres. I did just see as well that Bonkers, who we're watching now, was stationary for a prolonged period of time coming out of turn number 16, so maybe having a little bit of a chat with the barrier. Down the inside goes Ben, just about manages to slam the anchors on and taking the lead once more away from Formula Kai, who I think has something to say about it on exit though. Moving over to the left-hand side, being squeezed. Are we diving into the pits? We can't see the Mercedes and the Sauber. 2 of them are going to come in, 2 of them are going to stay out.
Which way is going to be the better way to solve this pit stop conundrum? Team Marduk and Formula Kai in towards the pits. This time around, Karim and Razin Chai deciding to stay out alongside Ricky 03 and that guy Vince. So there are drivers opting and deciding the track is still viable in terms of grip on the slick tyres, and they are going to see, well, just how much grip this track still has to offer. And Razin Chai and Karim cannot afford to battle at the moment as they make their way through this Grand Prix. We're being told Karim thinks it was a mistake to stay out. I'm sure we'll see you come through in just a moment.
Mistake to stay out or mistake to come in?
Well, I
Maybe
don't know.
A little bit of doubt about that. I think it's, mistake to stay out. Scotty Designs, the legend. Scotty Designs just informing us of that as well. So 0.8 of a second is the margin. We are going to get the full radio. We may have made a mistake. We'll just have to see what the sector times are of the reigning champion and the Kick Sauber, currently residing in 5th and 6th.
Well, we'll see the Delta as they make their way through towards the pit stops for themselves. Team Marduk and Formula Kai will not have any traffic to impede their charge back towards the top. The closest contender in terms of that guy Vince and Ricky 03 still 9 seconds up the road from our championship protagonist, and of course it will be Formula Kai who is towing him along here in the streets of Vegas. DRS still enabled, I believe, so not deemed to be too wet to run the drag reduction system, but of course Formula Karim and Razin Chai will be hoping to make it to the pits as quick as they possibly can, waiting for those intermediate tyres and of course fresh boots going on their individual cars. Can they slow it down, avoid a 10-second penalty, because that will be absolutely critical in the current situation. The bottom right of your screens, Team Marduk gets past Formula Kai. He's now effectively the race leader, and I think if you look at the Delta on the left-hand side, it's so incredibly close. Well, not incredibly close. I think it will be an easy overtake here for Team Marduk.
Yeah, he was 0.4 quicker than Kareem in the middle sector. Obviously lost a little bit of time coming out of the pit, stuck behind Formula Kai. There they are, and it's not going to be small. It's a sizable gap between 2nd and 3rd place. It was absolutely the correct decision to come in on the previous lap, and look at that, Kareem and Razin actually have a Haas of Lolinoba to deal with. Bit of a slide as Green tries to get those tyres up to temperature, and Lolly back in this race as well for a potential podium finish. The gap is 1.3 seconds between Kai and Kareem. That's not insignificant, but it is also going to be quite difficult to try and climb that summit to get back towards them.
It's not insignificant, but of course DRS is still enabled here at the circuit here in Las Vegas, so they will be hoping to try and close that before race control decide it's no longer safe to run the rear wing drag reduction system. I'm sure that is coming imminently, at least in terms of the Grand Prix. It is certainly looking rather damp, and I've just been corrected. DRS has been disabled. I must have missed that. My apologies, folks at home. Sometimes you don't catch everything that comes up on the screen at you, and many thanks to Hayden for pointing that out for me.
And look at Kareem on the button straight away. Dropped Razin, dropped Lolinoba. The gap nearly a second between the McLaren and the Alpine. And on the flip side of it, 1 second now the gap between Kai and Kareem, as Kai perhaps thinking about shaping up for a move on the reigning champion and championship leader. And as things stand, the Season 9 champion also. The Kickstar was going to move out to the middle of the circuit. Ben, I don't think he's going to fight this one too hard, and he does not, sliding down into second position. Formula Car, remember, has never won in the Creator Series before. Big opportunity for him amongst the championship battle that we've got, as Dakovic is still struggling with connection issues. That is not good news for Aston Martin's Constructors' Championship push.
Certainly is, and Dakovic will be hoping and praying that he can get back into the lobby here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, and I'm doing some basic maths in my head. If the race finishes with Formula Kai winning the Grand Prix, Karim in second, and Tiamat Marduk in third, the championship goes to Karim based on the Inter's pole lap. I think my maths is correct there.
I think you're correct on that one.
Oh, safety car.
Oh.
Where's that come from? I can't see. Infratic, maybe? The only driver that I can see going slowly and not in the pits at all, yeah.
Fabio is going slowly, and he's lost a load of places. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Live standings, Karim with a 4-point deficit that he needs to try and overcome.
Certainly does, and they've got their work cut out for them in this Grand Prix, and they've got to finish ahead of Tiamat Marduk as well, as we previously alluded to. No matter what happens, if Tiamat Marduk finishes ahead, it's championship hopes and dreams in the bin for Formula Karim. And apparently Ben's fuel is saved, we're hearing from the Twitch chat. He's managed to try and drag it back up, or at least will have the opportunity to drag it back up through the course of this safety car period. And apparently Fabio has lost his front wing as well.
Yeah, feels like such a long time ago, doesn't it, that Fabio finished the sprint in third and was residing in the top 5 before that first safety car was deployed. How quickly things can unravel. But with the safety car, has been afforded the opportunity to try and get himself back into this race. But it's not been a great afternoon for Ferrari, it has to be said. 17th and 20th as it stands. Still just under half of the race still left to go. And I wonder when the rain stops as well. This is something we potentially have to consider also. If the rain's going to stop in maybe 5 minutes, does somebody throw the dice and maybe stick on a set of the slick tyres? Ryan L83 with a 3-second penalty and then a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car.
Not a great, well, let's say debut for Ryan L here. Multiple penalties coming the way. Of course, the 10 seconds earlier for the collision with F1 Alex, and then it came to track limits penalties and speeding under the safety car. I think it could be a race to forget for Ryan L, of course, taking over here from the virtual, well, let's just say back streets of WRC, where there are no safety cars, there are no track limits, and everything you want to try and push is to the absolute limit. He's down at P18 at the moment, but I'm sure after he serves that drive-through, he'll be considerably further back. You can't serve them under the safety car, so we'll have to do it once we go green flag racing once again. We've got a few drivers in towards the pit lane here. Tom Sanderson, Vince, all the way down to Infratic, diving in towards the pit lane, and that's no front wing for Tom there.
Yeah, definitely going to put some new boots on, intermediate tyres, and a new front wing as well. Ryan on the full wet tyres, which is an interesting call. Maybe just struggling for grip on the Inters, fancied a little bit more tread. Everybody else that's just been down pit road is putting on a new set of intermediate tyres. Not sure if that's Vince's AI, to be honest, or whether he is elected to come into the pits. But Fabio was the reason the safety car came out. Carl in Clipbook Corner, I believe you may have the answer to our question. What happened to the Ferrari?
Well, you're about to find out, lads. So, it's Vince's AI. Keep a close eye here. Obviously, extremely slow, extremely erratic. You can probably guess where this goes next. So, Meraki's managed to clear the errant Aston Martin car. We've got Adam Sanderson deploying the electrical energy all the way down through the last corner, and he pulls to the inside. Fabio tries to follow him through, and as you can see, well, yeah, need I say any more? Big contact. Big snap and a tank slapper from Adam Sanderson. Infratic caught up. I am shocked he didn't retire because it was a big hit for the Ferrari faithful. Well, was in P15, safety car as a result. Tom, I can also report, clattered into the back. Was a concertina from this incident. He also, that's the reason he lost his front wing. While we're here, we'll talk about the safety car restart, the previous one, because a couple of people were rather aggrieved with the situation, one of which was Formula Karim. You got Ben weaving about, and he's been rather cheeky here, because the green flag doesn't happen until the leader crosses the start-finish line, so he's let Kai go, developed a bit of a gap. Karim tries to take advantage of that, thinking it's going back to green flag conditions, but no, Ben dictating the pace, and then, if a touch rude, cuts across Karim. As a result, big concertina, and you would have seen there was contact. Well, Mr. Meraki, there was a bit of a problem on that front. He was particularly aggrieved with what was happening. If you can lip read, you can see he repeats Ben's name over and over again. I don't need to tell you what that means, but Kareem slowing down in order, well, to not get put into a wall, quite frankly. As a result, damage for the Red Bull driver. But once again, it is all nullified as we remain in procession on the safety car.
Well, thank you, Carl, as always, and fantastic to have your insights into the instance as well. And I'm going to go to the other camp here. I think, actually, it wasn't Ben intentionally slowing down. I think he just got caught out by Kai launching so early. And actually, in turn, he had all the right to take that inside line in towards the final corner.
It's a tricky one. It's a real tricky one. I think you can play the, I hate to use the word, but the cynical game, maybe just trying to put Kareem off, maybe push him down a couple of places. But at the same time, I think maybe if the tactic was to try and, stretch the pack out a little bit on the restart, give himself a buffer as well to close in on, and then maybe use the DRS on the second lap to get past Kai, he's perfectly within his rights to do that. So it'll be interesting to see what both drivers say at the end of the Grand Prix. We are still under the safety car, of course, and the rain is still coming down. I thought maybe there was a chance it would begin to subside and somebody might chuck on the slick tyres for a bit of a roll of the dice and a bit of a dice with the devil here in Vegas. But we are going to continue on these inters for the time being.
Well, someone go get the Shipman family, because I'm sure they love all this drama that's occurring here in Vegas at the moment, and I think there'd be a few too many curry orders going on, especially with the watch party that could be occurring. But as it stands, on lap 30 of 50 here, Formula Kai leads from Team Mardik, from Formula Karim as well, as we make our way through. And our producer in the background has once again managed to make me chuckle whilst reading one of his messages. So it's Kai that still leads from Ben, from Karim, Razin Chai in fourth with Lonnie Noba, Nick Flies, Riccio 3, Safso, M, Scotty Z and Meraki as your top 10 as it stands.
Will the safety car be in? That's the question. We know that it can be called in incredibly late, but I don't think we're quite going to get it. I think Ben just trying to make sure that safety car doesn't come in, backing up to some tune coming out of turn 16. Not everybody had quite caught the back of the snake, and I wonder if anybody was potentially caught out by that. We are going to have another lap under safety car conditions. Boo, what a party pooper that is, but it does mean that everybody can 100% catch up to the back of the train, and equally nobody is caught short.
Yep, apparently 14 minutes, well, 10 to 15 minutes of rain left here in Las Vegas, and obviously a little bit of time after that until the track does dry into where it's a suitable condition for the slick tyres to go back on. So at least we will have slick tyre running until the end of the Grand Prix, and actually we are rapidly approaching the ability for the softs to go until the end if our drivers have indeed saved a pair of them. And I think that Team Mardik could be one of those drivers that could be left without a fresh set of softs, and that could play into the hands of Formula Karim.
I would almost go the other way there and say that the medium's probably the tyre you want to be on. Say we get to lap, say the rain stops and we put the dry tyres on maybe lap 36 or 37. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of drivers go for the mediums, because I think that's a very safe bet. They shouldn't degrade come the end of the race, and if you do need to make some late race overtakes, those are the tyres you want to be on. But if we get to maybe lap 43, 42, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we do see those red strap soft tyres come out again. Absolutely
right. Lots of opportunities, lots of strategies that our drivers can choose for the final end of the final race here in F1 24 of the F1 Creator Series. Of course, proudly sponsored by EA Sports. We're on lap 31 of 50 at the moment, still under safety car conditions, still with all 20 cars running. And that in itself is a bit of a miracle, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, considering that Fabio was trailing down the barriers, not too dissimilar to what happened last time we were here at Las Vegas back in season number 8. We had the double header. I think it was a collision between Razin, Alex Gillen and GB. A little bit of bump drafting going on. It was Razin who came up third best in that little scrap and found himself pirouetting down the main straight and losing significant chunks of his front wing.
Absolutely, and it's been a track that I think time and time again, not only in the F1 Create Series, but in leagues up and down the country and up and down the world, quite a few cars to find an early shower, or the driver at least taking an early shower. Race Control informing us that the safety car will peel into the pit lane at the end of this lap. We'll go racing on lap 32 of 50, and we're in for an epic 19 laps to finish off this Grand Prix. Let us know in chat who you think still is going to win not only the race, but of course the championship as well, whether that be the drivers or the constructors. Both of them still up for grabs as Formula Karim once again going side by side with Team Marduk here, who has the opportunity to try and cut that first, or cut the last corner and dominate all the space if he wishes to do so. Kai puts his foot to the floor. We're going to go green flag racing once again on lap 32 of 50 in towards the first corner, and there's a side-by-side battle further back as Chai and Lolly Nova having a good old scrap between the both of them. It's Chai that gets the advantage over the Italian at the moment, and how long is it until the tyres start to heat up where they can try and form a response?
Big scrap going on behind as well. Nick Flies trying to win McLaren the Constructors. Riccio 3 and Savso sinking their teeth into one another. But look at this, Formula Cream, is he potentially shaping for a move to get past his main rival? No, ducking back underneath the rear wing of the Silver Arrow. Former McLaren driver, former McLaren champion against potentially a soon-to-be McLaren champion. That's an interesting dynamic, of course. McLaren still fighting for those Constructors' Championship points. Aston Martin looking like their race is run. M Sky Z in 10th. Datko Vince returning to the lobby, finds himself down in 14th.
Yeah, it hasn't been the best run for either of the Aston Martins, of course. Looks so strong, looks trying to go back-to-back for a Constructors' Championship victory. Of course, GB missing out from this endeavour tonight at the moment, and it's a question that's just been asked by our producer in the chat. How has there been no DNFs? And especially after that crash from Frati slightly earlier on, who was incredibly lucky to keep all four wheels on that car, just bumping the front wing enough where that took the majority of the damage from the car. We watch on board here with Formula Career as he charges down towards the third sector. Is he going to make a move earlier on? We've got to move further back from Riccio 3, who gets the better of the other McLaren, and Nick Fly is relegated to P7 on track at the moment, and it is absolutely incredible racing from all of our drivers.
It is indeed. Obviously a little bit harder to overtake in the wet, and we of course don't have the advantage of the DRS, but I don't think that's going to stop somebody like Formula Cream in the tracks. But as we say that, collision once again down in 14, 15 and 16. Ryan is out of the session. We do finally have our first retirement, just as we were seeing discussions about people not wanting to retire because they would have to speak to Hayden Gullis, but we are eventually down to 19, and that was quite a short one, wasn't it?
It certainly was indeed, and it's the old turn of the commentator's curse coming in to its own as we go from 20 drivers down to 19, and once again a safety car pulling all of our drivers back together again, albeit there wasn't much differentiation in amongst our field. F1 Alex dives in towards the pit lane, fresh set of tyres will be going onto that Kick Sauber, and as it stands the entire grid remains a Kick Sauber sound. Kai leads with F1 Alex in P19 and last at the moment, and this is going to be, well, an interesting filling for the rest of the race.
Will 100%. And, well, if the rain is stopping soon, I'm going to repeat myself from earlier on. Does anybody chance it and maybe put on the dry tyres if the rain is going to stop in 5 minutes or so? This shouldn't be a safety car that's out for an extended period of time. We'll just have to wait and see if anybody is feeling particularly brave.
That'll be the question. I'm sure we'll get an interview here from Ryan in the next few moments. Of course, we're still under safety car conditions, and the rain is still going through. And I think by the sounds of it, we might be able to drag him in just the next few moments. Hayden, over to yourself.
Hello, Ryan. Commiserations there today. It was a strong debut for you so far, but talk to me how you're feeling and how that happened.
Well, firstly, it's a pleasure to be here. It's been long overdue for quite a while since daddy duties took over with my life. So, but no, I mean, going into this, I wasn't kind of expecting anything drastic from me from pace. It was just to have a bit of fun and see where my pace is, basically. And I did not practice at all for Las Vegas. I was hoping for Brazil to be picked on the wheel, but goes out first round, so that kind of screwed me over a little bit. But then it was just practicing the sprint race, just as many laps, and then qualifying did the same thing, and then the race I wasn't kind of expecting to be anywhere near the front of the field, but I was just having fun, and that was the main thing. But I do have to apologise to Alex for the slight tap at the, I can't remember what corner it is, I think it's like turn 5 or 6, and he just went off a little bit, but I hopefully didn't get any damage from it. But I got front wing, I got a penalty for it, so. And then that incident at the end, my game had a little bit of a screen freeze, and then it kind of set me off a little bit, you know, off and hit a curb and then went into the wall as well. But yeah, it is what it is, but it's been fun to do this, and you know, wish the guys the best of luck in obviously the rest of this race. It's going to get spicy with this rain.
Well, you enjoyed your debut here. You enjoyed your first time out. Does that mean that we're going to see you again in the future as a reserve, potentially on F1 25?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really commit to a full season like as a regular, but like this, for example, this popped up at short notice, and I thought I'd give it a go. And it's better than racing on the rally side of things in the Creator Series, and it's just to get out of my comfort zone and see. As originally, as you know, coming from F1 originally, and then moved away to do rally, it's a bit of a contrast. I will say that, and doing a little bit of rally drifting in some corners in the rain was kind of cool, but it's not how you're supposed to drive this game. And just kept thinking, don't do rally, don't drive like a rally car.
Well, I don't know, with the steering angle on this game, the handling system, and especially in the wet, maybe a few rallying skills can help in turn. But Ryan, thank you very much for talking to us. Commiserations on the DNF today, but we look forward to hopefully seeing you again soon as a reserve in the future for a bit of redemption.
Thank you, Hayden, and again, just want to say to everybody, you've done a good season. I've been watching the whole season, and may the best one win between whoever's in the championship, and should be a good one, and hopefully the chat will, experience a spicy ending to the race. But thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Let's head over now to Carl, who's on the clip book.
Right, well, I better make this quick then. I'm not sure if a safety car's going to come in, but let's have a look at the restart. Ricky thought he'd stolen a march on his competitor, Nick Flies. McLaren doing really well, by the way, in prime position for the Constructors' title. Round the outside goes Ricky, keeping it in medium ERS. Play devil's advocate, sometimes you want it in none for the optimal traction, but it's not optimal power delivery. Nick Flies, though, round the outside. Great racing between the two of them, paying their outside line compliments handsomely. Great racing once again from Ricky. Alongside that, though, that was the aftermath. You'll see right now for Ryan as he comes up to the end of the Las Vegas Strip. The mother of all screen freezes as a result, disorientated, and then it's just a massive clatter into the wall. Race done for Ryan. Safety car, though, staying out for one more lap as the rain continues to get closer and closer to ending.
Certainly is indeed. Carl, once again, thank you for the info behind the scenes, and so unfortunate to see Ryan exit out of the Grand Prix in that manner. The news that we're going to bring you, though, at the moment, 3 drivers have opted for the slick tyres to progress through this Grand Prix. They're confident that the rain will be stopping in any moment. We saw Team Radio just whilst Hayden was interviewing Ryan there, saying, "We will do this, just trust me." And it'll be an interesting one to see how the cars handle, because that circuit is still very, very damp and slippery and slick, and all the words that you want to use to describe something that isn't dry.
This does look a little bit tricky for old Scott Taylor, it has to be said. Oh, just struggling for grip. Needs some new tyres. Also maybe needs some armbands and some paddles to try and get round at the moment, because that looks very, very sketchy indeed. Those medium tyres are going to be quite cold as well. It is, of course, still raining, so it will be difficult. And oh no, Scott! Oh, he's got a drive through for falling too far back. That feels incredibly harsh. He was falling too far back because he could barely keep it on the track, and then almost taking a chunk of his front wing off with a little bit of a brush, let's say, of the barrier through what is normally a flat-out corner. Most certainly was not on those dry tyres.
I guess that's the risk you run when you opt for a tyre that isn't necessarily suited for the conditions at the moment. He didn't have the pace to try and catch up to the back of the pack, and obviously the game detected it, that he was falling too far back, and drive-through penalty coming the way of one Scott Taylor. Safety car in this lap, says race control, and we will restart once again on 36 of 50. Medium tyres fitted to 3 drivers, Tom, Sanderson and Taylor, as we progress our way through everybody else remaining on the intermediates. Formula Kai chooses once again to go for a safety car restart. It's going to be a slow approach up towards the final corner, and Karim once again trying to go side by side with the 2-time Creator Series champion, looking to become a 3-time Creator Series champion. Karim, of course, looking to try and get his first championship victory here. And, of course, it all comes down to the final few laps of racing. Weaving by Formula Kai, getting the tyres up to a little bit more temperature. And when's he going to go? He puts his foot to the floor. The green flags will fly. And we'll go racing once again in Vegas. And it's going to be a great restart from Lolly Noba. And he tries to chance it around the outside of Razin Chai, braking on the exit curbs there. Can't necessarily get the car slowed as much as he would have liked. But he's still side by side with Razin Chai. He's aside, now he's ahead of the Haas car, can progress to try and charge forth to Formula Karim, who's on the pigtails of Team Armada, because Formula Kai still leads.
Well, put that overtake in the scrapbook. That was absolutely beautiful from Ollie, dancing on the limit of grip around the outside, turned to the inside, and putting one over on Raz and Chai. And they've got some interesting rivalry, haven't they, after recent weeks? And these medium tyres looking a little bit tricky, it has to be said. 14 seconds off the back of them. Tom is 3 seconds off the back of F1X, and that gap is increasing all the time. Going to get a bit of racing, though, on the two drivers on the wrong tyres. Down into turn number 5 we go. Could Scott get it stopped? The answer is very much no, and having to chuck the car into reverse and get going once more.
Unfortunate for Scott there, couldn't quite get the brakes to slow the car down as much as he would have liked. I think he kept most of it out of the wall as MSkyZ sails on past, but finds himself now in no man's land, kind of stuck and separated between Mike Stasio and Scott Taylor himself. Safso gets his way past Nick Flies with his battle for the lead here. Timo Marduk looking towards the inside line, Karim potentially to the outside line as Kai can't quite decide which way he's going to defend. He's going to go almost 2 wide, it looked to be 3 wide for a moment. Timo Marduk later on the brakes in towards the penultimate few corners here. Kai tries to hang it around the outside. Karim touches with the wall. Here comes Lolly Noba as we come towards the 37th lap of this Grand Prix. Timo Marduk takes the race lead. The rain has stopped. Lolly Noba down the inside of Formula Kai now, looking to try and mount a challenge late in the day.
Code Brown, if you all know, but he was almost virtually sideways there as he had a little bit of contact with the kick salver. Formula Cream trying to swing one up the inside and to the outside to get ahead of Formula Kai, who's just falling off the racing line. Maybe struggling for grip, maybe struggling for tyre temperatures as well as the track does start to dry. Tim Marduk leading from Lolino, but this is the duel for 3rd and 4th on the grid. Can the McLaren send it down the inside of the kick salver? Can he put one over on one of his main rivals? He can most certainly do that because Kai clouts the barrier.
Yeah, the intermediate tyres now surely going to be facing some overheating issues. Rain has stopped. It looks like the track surface has dried up incredibly quickly. This could pay dividends now to Tom and Adam Sanderson, who took that risk earlier on. Of course, won't have to do another pit stop, can run until the end of the Grand Prix on these medium tyres. And Timo Marduk, Karim, Lolly Noba, everybody down to P14 on the grid will have to serve another penalty. The intermediate certainly will not make it another 13.5 laps through this Grand Prix. But Timo Marduk now has the advantage over his championship contender.
I'm keeping a watchful eye over Tom's sector times. He was still a 2.5 seconds slower in the first sector and losing time still in the middle. So it's not quite ready, but if we get to dry conditions on the next lap, Tom and Adam Sanderson are going to be in the lead of the race, and in the lead of the race by maybe upwards of 10 seconds. That's how quickly things can change here. Timo Marduk still leading Lolinoba and Formula Kai. We've got a yellow flag. Somebody's facing the wrong way. I think it's Mike Stasio at the back of the pack.
Yeah, it is Mike Stasio making his way through the Mickey Mouse section. Front wing end plate missing for the Williams car. His teammate Enrico 3 won't be too pleased. We've got another yellow flag as Scott Taylor finds the wall in a very similar situation to a few moments ago. And that's a front wing completely missing for the Haas car. And I think that was the same corner he went off just a few laps ago when he was trying to battle alongside MSkyZ. Speaking of MSkyZ, he finds himself down at P17 after taking the gamble strategy as well, after the safety car peeled in towards the pit lane. And I wonder how long it is until we see our front runners choosing for the pit stops. Will wait probably for the DRS to become enabled again, and that's generally the sign that a circuit is clean to use. Scott Taylor retires, and the final few corners, safety car once again.
Oh, that's a little bit disappointing, isn't it? Especially if you're Tom or Adam Sanderson, who I think we're guaranteed to be in the lead of the Grand Prix. But we are, once again, under safety car conditions. Is this the last one? I'm not sure. I think we might have one more. And if things weren't bad enough already for Tom, he's now got himself a drive-through penalty. And any advantage that he would have picked up is now eradicated.
It certainly is. It's never fun to see a championship or at least a race decided in such a way. But of course, if you speed under the safety car, the shows will come down heavily on that situation. Scott Taylor leaves the session with his head hung in shame. And this is an opportunity for everybody now to go into the pits, get fresh tyres and fresh front wings should they require it, in the case of Mike Stasio. And I think actually we're potentially in soft territory here, Tom.
I would agree. 100% you can try and stretch the soft tyres to the end of the race, especially if we're going to do, 2 laps potentially under the safety car, as Ben really backing everybody up into turn number 14. Razin having to dart out to avoid the car in front. Same with Ricky 03 in the Williams car. And now it's going to be left, I would imagine, to the pit crews.
I think it will. If anybody gets a bad pit stop at the moment, this could spell, disaster for the rest of their Grand Prix. Everybody now peeling in towards the pit lane. Timo Marduk leads them in. Hopefully no penalties coming amongst our grid. 10 seconds could be a do or die moment as well. And this is going to be a fascinating moment. Is anyone going to get held up in their pit box? Of course, it is a possibility with so many cars peeling in towards the pit lane.
There aren't too many teammates that are particularly close to each other on track, and we have got a mix of tyre compounds. The two main protagonists opt for the mediums. Formula Kai is going to be the joker in the pack, if you will. He is on the softs along with Ricky 03. That's going to be a very interesting one. Can Adam Sanson pick up some places? Dancing around the outside of Fabio. That's getting very close contact, in fact, under the safety car. And he is up into 10th position. That might, though, be 9th very quickly because Adam, that guy Vince, is on 11-lap old used soft tyres, which most certainly will not get him to the end of the race.
Is Safso stuck in the pit? Or is that just an issue with the thing there? Because his car's going very slowly.
He's there.
Oh, yeah, there he is. Oh, now he's... Okay.
Can't make his mind up where he is. He's joined once again. Oh, he's reversing! Checking in reverse, Saf. He's now, well, I think he's on some kind of moving escalator or travelator potentially that's stopping him from moving forward. We're going to cut away from that and let Safso try and resolve those clear issues that he has got. Still stationary there, trying desperately to escape, but being locked down by the clutches of the F124 gods.
Yeah, unfortunately for Safso, he's had his fair share of incidents and game issues as well, and it's not the way that you'd like to end this race. Of course, looks so positive in the sprint race as well, and this is well. Wait, hold on.
Has this been done on purpose? Has somebody set this one up?
8:35. Wow.
We've been told that 8:35 is usually the time that we do see Safso disconnected. He is still trapped there. I don't know what's on the floor. I'd love to see what's happening here. It's not letting me take control. We can gauge that, Saf. You're still stationary in the same spot. Look, desperately trying to move forward. You can even see the tyre marks underneath where he is.
This is, I'll be honest, I've never seen that before. He's putting on a show for the crowd, at the very minimum thing, but we'll cut away from that and we'll head back up towards our race leaders. And Sasha, unfortunately, is about to be lapped, unfortunately. And this is, honestly, probably one of the most entertaining things that I've ever seen. And I think we have to cut away from that. If you're under 13 or under 18 at the moment, look away. As Dakar Vince gets a 10-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. What's all that about as he dives into the pit lane?
Sorry, I think that is exactly the same thing that Tom97 was caught out by at Silverstone, diving into the pits, but I think he still overtook drivers while he was technically within the confines of the racetrack, and that is why he got that 10-second penalty, which he is, thankfully for himself, going to be serving now as Kareem and Kai trading places. And, well, not good news at all if you're driving for the squadron of the Green Machines, because that is M. Skyzy having to queue behind his teammate. Tom with that drive-through still looming over his head in 14th. That will become last place. Actually, no, it won't become last place, of course, because there is Safso.
I was hoping that nobody was going to crash into the rather stationary and or moving at the same time V car. Of course, the lapped car does ghost, fortunately, allowing everybody through and past, but he's now a lapped car down in P18. This is going to be an interesting situation where the car is probably a permanent moving roadblock, or should I say static roadblock, at least for the next 10 or so laps.
What would be very interesting is if Safso does eventually take control. He's obviously ghosted now, but the unghost just as people are driving through him. And then we could see somebody potentially upside down and thrown into the grandstands, which would be interesting. Wouldn't surprise me at all if that's what happened.
It certainly wouldn't, but 8:35 on the dot, folks. At least Safso is one thing. He's consistent. His Wi-Fi has a dedicated bedtime, and he has managed to join back, although maybe not take control of his car at the moment. And I'm sure we'll be able to get a few viewpoints from our man over in Clipboard Corner. Speaking of himself, Carl, what have you got for us?
Plenty, sir. Plenty. Let's start off with Lolin Ober, who's been my star of the restart in Vegas. As you can see, going alongside Razin. He did this at the last safety car restart as well, trying to get a march on the Alpine driver. Times it perfectly, and where it didn't quite come off at the first restart in the wet, he just darts right round the outside. It takes two to tango, and they tango perfectly. Lolly up into P4. But then it gets better, also using non-ERS. I was talking about this, whether you go for the optimal power delivery or whether you just go for optimal traction and then slowly wind it on with the electrical energy as you go along. Down the Las Vegas Strip then, we saw Kareem and Tim at Marduk trying to make hay while the sun shone. It wasn't shining though, the rain had only just stopped, and it is certainly nighttime as Lolin Ober does the left-right good night, switching back and down the inside on Formula Kareem. And then it's a drag race, got loads of battery to play with. Kai and Co saving up ahead, Lolly not wanting to wait around, and rightly so, sending it down the inside and going up into P2. My absolute star of the restart right there. is Mr. Lolinoba. Here we have a close call at the pit exit. We've got Infratic trying to get ahead of Adam Sanderson. You can't quite tell from this angle, but it was so unbelievably close. Game gives it in favour of Adam Sanderson, who was one of the brave and bold few who made that early call onto dry tyres, now finds himself in the top 10. Under safety car, once again though, here in Las Vegas, equalised all on dry tyres, and hopefully Safso's episode of psychosis on the racetrack doesn't last for too long.
Well, it's a sprint race to decide the finish here in Las Vegas, and as you say, it's still a static Safso that could determine the outcome of the race. We're going to have 9 or 8 laps to finish off this Grand Prix, and if you are watching along and thinking, wow, this is some fantastic racing in amongst the grid, if you're watching on YouTube, first of all, welcome in. Why not drop us a subscribe and a follow as well. If you're watching over on Twitch, drop us a follow over on there. If you're watching on TikTok and on Twitter, a follow and some likes would be much appreciated. And of course, you can tune in and catch the next endeavours when we head either to the virtual rally scene for WRC Create Series or back for Season 10 of the Create Series, back when F1, or in the future, when F1 25 comes out. You can tell I'm not very good at the spiels on this sort of endeavours, but we are moments away from getting going once again, and let's see how we're going to go. And there we go, safety car in this lap from race control. Tom, who's your money on for a race victory now?
Oh, that's very, very difficult indeed. You're actually trying to make me work out who does pick the jackpot in Vegas. I'm going to say it's not Ben or Cream. I'm going to say Formula Kai is the driver that wins this race for the first time. What happens behind? I've got absolutely no idea.
Well, all eyes on the drivers. Tim and Marduk will take his first safety car restart of this Grand Prix. Lolinoba will follow in behind him with Formula Karim in P3. Formula Kai, who's led so much of this race, will start from P4. Let's keep an eye. Ben puts his foot to the floor. The green flag will fly. And this time, Formula Karim not squeezed to the inside line. Immediately released by Lolinoba. And our two championship contenders once again can be at wit's end with one another. Team of Marduk and Formula Karim make their way through as we start lap 42 of 50, and this is going to be a championship deciding sprint.
And we'll have to wait and see whether Safso is still ghost. There are no yellow flags being flown coming out of turn number 5 as we ride on board with the Mercedes. There's the Season 1 champion. Didn't quite look like he was ghosted. Maybe a bit of a hearty mouth moment. Somebody has lost a bit of front wing in the mid-pack. Not sure who it was. Potentially a McLaren of Nick Flies. Not good for their Constructors' Championship push. Nick Flies and Adam Sanderson inseparable as Tim Marduk and Formula Cream have been thus far so far. And I have to say as well, Infratic from absolutely nowhere is in P5. How has that happened?
Certainly is indeed. It's fantastic racing, and he's managed to pull his way through. A few mistakes from other drivers quite often is what leads Infratic to find himself where he is. He's holding drivers further back as you see the gap up to Lolinoba continue to increase over 0.8 of a second, and that's not going to be to the likes of Razin Chai or Riccio 3, who'd like to try and work their way through. Speaking of Razin, he's made his way past Infratic and now finds himself in P5 within the DRS of the drivers in front. Team Marduk leads and could be a sitting duck as DRS will come to our drivers not this lap but next lap as Formula Kai takes Formula Karim and makes the Formula Squared battle on track once again.
And puts the car crucially between Ben and Karim on the racetrack, which is going to be very, very interesting. 9 points. Now the margin, you can bet your bottom dollar this is not going to be the final finishing order. By the time we reach checkered flag on lap number 50, Meraki getting ahead of Nick Flies. Dak Gavitz with that 10-second penalty. F1 out with 6 seconds as well. The only other penalties to report, Adam Sanderson losing places as well. Maybe he was the driver that picked up a little bit of damage. 13th becomes 14th now.
Yeah, continually dropping through the field. Not exactly what Mercedes would like to see for the Constructors' Championships hopes. Meanwhile, Nick Flies, the other McLaren, finds himself in P10. All of our drivers passing through Safso's stranded car once again as Team Marduk leads from Kai from Karim. Lolinoba still in 4th. Razin Chai's putting that gap further forwards as he progresses up towards this front quartet. Has gained about 1/10 of a second over the course of the last lap, and with DRS now becoming a factor, let's see who will lead as we head through the Raffles Boulevard. This is going to be a fascinating race.
Who is going to make the first punch and make the first move? That is going to be very interesting to see. Will Ben try and bolt, or will he just do the tactics that we've seen so far? Try and start the final lap in second place and work very, very hard to get into that second position. Yellow flag is Adam Sanderson, potentially pitched into the barriers at turn 12. He is very much off the circuit. We need to return to the leaders though, because I think Formula Kai is going to get ahead of the reigning champion and championship leader. Karim's actually having to defend as well from Lolinoba, who was potentially trying to snaffle up a final spot on the podium, but was unsuccessful in his first attempt to do so.
It's still incredible to see how much curb Formula Kai likes to take compared to some of the other drivers. Almost 3 wide for a moment there as Lonnie Noba now comes to join the party. Team Amatic wants to move done in towards the first corner. Kai closes the door. This could allow Karim down the inside of Team Amatic. Kai still blocking the way. Karim to the inside line. Not 1, not 2, but 3 cars now separating himself and Team Amatic, who's into the wall. Contact between himself and Lonnie Noba. Razin Chai's there as well. And Team Amatic, has he got front wing damage?
100% missing that left-hand end plate. Could that be the championship over? Kareem still needs to try and get the job done as they flash through the ghosted Safso. Kareem now leads this race, but Ben has got a significant handicap now if he's going to try and pick up this championship, down into 4th position, and he's missing half of his front wing.
That's a considerable amount of front wing damage for a championship contender. It's never fun to see a race, let alone a championship descent, defended like this. But who knows? The race is well and truly not finished. It's not over till the fat lady sings, as they say. And here in Vegas, the show is yet to start. As Timo Malik over the team radio, he says it's game over. There's still 5 laps to go. Who knows? Karim could also find himself in a similar situation.
It might get a little bit scrappy now. Can Ben try and pull the rabbit out of the hat for one final time in season number 9, but he could be leaking one more spot. Here comes the House of Lolanoba, who doesn't have any front wing damage to our knowledge. I think he does actually, missing that right hand end plate, so a lot of drivers wounded at the moment. That's not going to stop the Haas. Ain't no stopping him now. And Ben relegated down to 5th position now. What has he got left in the tank?
It's all or nothing now for Team Amatic as we make our way through onto lap 44 of 50. 6 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and Formula Karim still leads, and it looks like there could have been a temporary allegiance with his Formula named counterpart. Kai stands in P2 with Razin Chai swiftly on the hunt. Team Amatic now down in P5 after getting bested by Lolly Noba. It's Riccio 3 who makes his way past him, Fratic, to make his way up to 6th place as it stands in the Scuderia Ferrari, dropping from the lofty heights of where he once found himself in P5. And Safso's car once again scaring the living bejesus out of me.
Shocks me absolutely every time. I almost forget that he's still stopped there. What are we going to see now though? Can Ben try and make something work? He's going to have to dig incredibly deep, but we've said it a number of times before, and I'll say it again. If there's one driver that I would trust to try and get out of this situation and potentially still win this championship, it is going to be Tia McMarder. But Formula Cream very much now in the ascendancy, and it looks like he's got a couple of helpers right in his wake.
Certainly looks, at least he's got one standing. I don't know where Razin Chai stands on this bandwagon. Is he going to try and prevent Formula Karim getting the first championship? Is he going to go for self-glory, as we quite often see from Razin Chai himself? We are about to enter lap 46 of 50. 5 to go in the Grand Prix. Kai to the inside line. Is Razin going to try and follow through as well? No, stays behind for the time being. That's going to mean Karim's P2, Chai's P3 with Lonnie Noba swiftly in tow as well. Team Amatic under pressure from Riccio 3 and in Fratic now as we make our way through the final corner. Flat out to start on to lap 46 of 50, and Fratic picks up a move to the inside line, sends it late down the inside, and that Scarlet Red Ferrari promoted once again to P5 on track.
Yeah, and you do start to feel that this could be the race run for the reigning champion. He's put up some fight, but he's going to have to be praying for a miracle now. Holding out for a hero to appear in Vegas as Formula Cream still continuing to trade blows with Kai out in front. Razin happy to file in behind as well. Lolinoba still arriving on the scene as they go through Safso once more. Ben down into 7th, battling away with Riccio 3. In Fratic 1.1 seconds off the back of Lolinoba. He can still finish on the podium, let's not forget.
Certainly is, and podium will still mean everything for all of our drivers. It's a momentous occasion to be on the top step, let alone the second or the third. Razin will still take that honour if he wants to try and win this Grand Prix. Kai and Karim and Chai, the 3 drivers that will stand there at the moment, but let's not count out Lolly Noba. Fratic is dropping slightly further back, almost out of DRS range now, as we see Riccio 3, aka Bombardo Crocodillo, getting a 3-second time penalty.
And that's going to promote Ben up 1 position, but he needs 6 more, obviously, to try and fall into his lap. We're going to be 3 wide here, potentially. Kareem all the way over to the left-hand side, making absolute certainty that he does not come to blows with Kai on his right-hand side. Razin Chai with a bit of bump drafting going on. Hopefully, we don't see the same thing happen that we saw in the sprint, ending in an absolutely monumental accident. And we do retain the status quo behind. Razin Chai very close to the back of the Kick Sauber. We've got 4 laps to go, and at the moment things are looking a little bit stationary. Adam Sanderson's out of the race, everybody, and we have a safety car.
Oh, here we go, folks. If ever there was a tactical safety car, I think we could have just seen it. The gamble could have paid off. Timo Mardik has an opportunity, maybe not as much as he would have liked. Are we seeing a situation like Singapore in 2008 here? Teammate crashing to help out their own teammate. Timo Mardik in towards the pits for a fresh front wing, fresh set of tyres, and we'll start from at least P12. He's got 2 or 3 laps to determine the championship. This is like all the great dramas rolled into one. 2021, 2008, and well, Tom, I think this is going to either be a fantastic party or Timo Mardik has got a mighty work on his hands.
Well, the safety car's going to come in at the end of lap 48, I believe. 2 laps is the minimum that you're allowed at the end of the Grand Prix. So we'll have a lap and a half of the safety car. Ben down in 12th. He still has quite a lot of work to do. Let's be honest, everybody. He's going to have to overtake 11 cars, effectively, if he is going to take this championship. But he's on the brand new soft compound tyres compared to fairly worn ones for everybody in front. If I just look at what we've got, 8-lap-old mediums for Kareem, Razin and Lolinova, and then obviously 8-lap-old softs for Formula Kai. And there are some other drivers in and amongst him that do have the fresh softs on as well. But he is going to be like a bull released, I think, in these final couple of laps. He's got absolutely nothing to lose now, and he is going to be going for it.
Well, if there was ever a vengeance arc to try and see how it goes, Timo Mardik is effectively Batman at the moment after his parents get killed. But we have got Adam Sanderson in for a chat with one Hayden Gullis.
Let's bring him in. Let's bring in Adam Sanderson. Adam Sanderson, I've changed your name on the Discord to Nelson PK Jr. Was that Crashgate in Las Vegas for us?
There's no crash gate. I was on a straight, put it in the barrier. I got shafted so hard, both races. There's no point. I wanted to watch the last laps unfold. I had great pace, I felt like, but there's no crash gate. I'll tell you how it is. That was a purposeful into the barrier, but we're allowed to do that in this series. There was no,
you are, so that's why I'm asking, are you going to happily admit that you're helping the guy that's sat, only meters away? I can see him in the background.
I'm sure it might benefit him, of course. But, I mean, watch the stream back. There was no tomfoolery. I said, do you want me to? And he was like, look, I'm not telling you what to do. I made my own mind up. That is from the heart.
Well, we've got 1 lap left of the safety car left to go, followed by a 2-lap sprint. What's your money on? What's going to happen in these last 2 laps for the championship?
McLaren and Kareem have got it. There's been, I'm not gonna start stirring the pot, but there's some tomfoolery against the Mercedes a lot these couple of races. Not pointing names, not pointing fingers, telling names, but it is what it is. We move. I think Kareem's got it. He's a great driver. Fair play to him, and McLaren might come out on top constructors.
Well, thank you very much for this season. It's been a remarkable season for you, no matter what has happened in this final race, and we look forward to seeing you back on F1 25.
Appreciate it. You'll be seeing me at the front of the...
Only if it's a reverse grid. Thank you, Adam, for chatting to us. We'll see you next season. Let's throw back to the commentators and get ready for 2 last laps of this Season 9 championship.
Well, here we go then, folks. Strap in, get the popcorn ready. This is going to be a tale for Hollywood. And who's your money going to be on to gamble for the race win? Can the Formula Karim hold on for the final 2 laps? Can Timo Mardik do enough to put himself back from 12th on the grid at the moment? My money says no, but equally I've also learned never to count out Mr. Benjamin Daly. Tom, again, I'm going to ask you, now the situation has changed and adapted, where's your money going?
I'm still putting my money in the orange corner. Orange versus silver. I think the odds are very much stacked against the reigning champion at this stage. We'll gain probably a couple of places. We have 2 laps to go, 2 drivers battling for the championship. And this, I can tell you, is going to be spicy.
It certainly is. 2 laps to go. 1 lap of DRS. It's the Formula duo that stand at the front of the grid at the moment. Karim from Kai with Razin Chai in P3 at the moment. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. And we're getting ready to go racing once again, folks. We're about to start 49 to 50. Karim gets the last of the heat in his tyres, the first time that he's had a safety car restart to lead in this Grand Prix. I think, if anything, the Twitter war could start. But for the moment, the talkie will be on the track. Karim puts his foot down. Kai holds the rest of the pack up. And the McLaren at the moment has an amazing launch in towards the first corner. Could we see it's a Kick Sauber helping out the McLaren?
1 down, 11 to go for Ben, up into P11, getting past Datka Vince. I would not be surprised if there's potentially a hole in the floor of Formula Cream Scenery. Just how hard he tried to mash his right foot into the ground. Getting past another driver is the reigning champion. That is 10th place now, though Mike Stasio might have something to say about it, but dancing around the outside of turn number 5. He's into the top 10, make that 9th as he darts past F1 Alex.
Yeah, F1 Alex mistake through the right-hander, couldn't quite get the car stop, little tap of the barrier, and that's going to allow Tiamat Mardik through. P9 at the moment, he's got to make 5 positions a lap if he wants to try and charge down the front 2 runners, but look at the gap already between Kai and Karim, nearly 8/10 of a second as we watch on board with Tiamat Mardik here, 8/10 of a second behind Sky Z, who's made it his mission to stop Ben getting the 3rd championship. We thought he wouldn't have too much play in this at the moment, but look how the tail comes together. Are we going to see the Aston Martin causing a headache for Tiamat Mardik?
Well, the amount of things that are almost just falling into place, it has to be said. 4/10 of a second, still the gap between 1st and 2nd. Tom getting ahead of Dat Vince. Meraki getting ahead of Mike Stasio. Ben still holding 9th position right now. I said he's going to need a miracle. He is most certainly going to need one on this final lap. 8 overtakes is the number. Will he be able to do it?
Certainly are indeed. Let's see how Karim does. DRS becomes enabled for this final lap. Let's keep an eye on Tiamat Mardik, who's gone fastest over all of our drivers at the moment. He's still got Sky Z to try and dispatch further in front of him. You can see the recharge happening for the Aston Martin. Karim's in 7th heaven at the moment as we make our way through the final lap of this race. Razin Chai trying to make an opportunistic move on Formula Kai down towards the tight right-hander. He's not necessarily going to be close enough. Tiamat Mardik switches to the inside line, trying to get past Sky Z. He does so successfully this time around. It was a tight move. It was almost pushed to the extreme limits by Sky Z, but that could be enough. He held up Tiamat Mardik for long enough where the championship charge is no longer on the cards, and Kai now plays defensive, trying to hold off Razin Chai. Lolly Noba and Infratic in tow, but as it stands, Karim will be getting race win number 7 and championship number 1 under the lights in Vegas. He's got 2 more straights to go here, Tom. Surely it's in the bag.
You'd like to think so, wouldn't you? The Rockstar rookie, reigning F2 champion, rocking along right now. He's got 6/10 of a second in his back pocket, but there's still a battle for second place to be won and done. Razin Chai moving to the outside. Is he going to steal it right at the death from Formula Kai? They are gaining at an alarming rate to the back of Karim, but it is the Alpine that gets second.
Karim's been winning this championship since day dot. He's looked so determined, so optimistic to win. The only driver to win from pole, not once, not twice this season. He'll do it a 3rd time. He's gone all out on red, and he wins not only the race, but also the championship as well. Formula Karim is your race winner in Vegas and takes home the championship here in Season 9 of the F1 Creator Series. It was too much to handle for Tiamat Mardik this time around. He'll finish in 7th. And I think Sky Z will feel job well done after a redemption arc from Season 6.
But it was a very commendable effort, you have to say. Tiamat Mardik is never one to go down without a fight, and he certainly fought on that final lap, picking up a couple of places, battled incredibly hard, got up to P7, but the mountain that he was left to climb did turn out to be insurmountable. But it is Formula Karim who has been the star, shining here in Las Vegas, picking up, like he said, win number 7, and more importantly, championship number 1.
Certainly does. The Moroccan Maestro topping our charts for the 9th time, or the 9th season here in the F1 Creator Series. Driver of the day going to Nick Flies, but I think it has to go to our championship winner. What a round it's been. What a championship it's been all throughout. And it came down to the final race, and the tactical safety car almost allowed allowed Tiamat Mardik to try and pull it back at the final time of asking. But your podium as it stands is Formula Karim, followed with Razin Chai, and I believe Lolly Noba alongside them as well. And what a race it's been, what a championship it's been as well. And we'll go through your complete grid order, your finishing order here in the final round before we head and say wave goodbye to F1 24. Karim wins with Chai and Lolly Noba as your top 3. Formula Kai, who started in P2, finishes P4, with Fabio, Nick Flies, Tiamat Mardik, Tom, Ricky 03 and Dat Vince as your top 10. Sky Z finishes just outside of the points after preventing Tiamat Mardik from winning his 3rd championship, with Meraki, Cutter Lucas, Bonkers, Mike Stasio, F1 Alex TTV and Adam Sanderson as your race finishers. And then Safso, who got stuck on the track almost permanently and probably is still there to this day, is alongside your DNFs with Scott Taylor and Ryan L83.
I think Safso will still be there by the time we get on to F1 25, which is a very pressing matter because, of course, that is the final race on F1 24.
Thank you very much on the commentary to the two Toms. Fantastic job. What a race and what a championship finale we just had. Karim is a champion in Creator Series F1, not just F2, and the first driver to do F2 and F1 back-to-back as well. Team at Marduk took it right to the end, but unfortunately that damage caught up in an instant with Razin Shy out of turn 2 seemed to put an end to his championship. Then a little bit of Crashgate, you know. Adam Sanderson he put it on the wall on purpose. You're allowed to do that in Creator Series, so of course he's going to be helping out his teammate, the driver alongside him, if the rules allow him to do that. And that brought us our last little safety car to try and get us back in. Carl, sum up that race from your position. What a great race it was.
Oh, it had everything, didn't it? It had weather, it had safety cars, it had rapturous racing. It had a little bit of everything. We'll look over the Tiamat Marduk incident in a little bit, because I'll let you chime in, Hayden, because that was really the race-defining moment and the championship-defining moment. At that point, you couldn't separate them, couldn't really decide between them as to who would get it over the line. Karim's restart, though, exactly what he needed to do. Getting all the warmth in his tyres, keeping it constant, slammed on the power, caught Kai unawares, and that just helped propel him to perpetual glory in the end. And for that matter, we look at Benjamin Daly's restart as well. Got a great restart, actually. Let others ahead of him just have a little bit of argy-bargy here and there. Dives down the inside of the Ferrari and then sets about the two cars ahead of him. Fought it tooth and nail right to the end. You cannot question at all his commitment as he switches it to the inside of Mike Stasio in the slipstream of F1 Alex Next as the Williams darting this way and that way, looking for an avenue to open up. Ben chops across, shuts the door on that. A slide for F1 Alex. Tiamat Marduk says, thank you very much, sir. That's a first-class stamp. Down the inside, up into P9 I go. And then with the likes of Skyzy and co up ahead. The big one, though, this is the moment Karim clinched the championship. Actually had more battery than Kai behind. Kai burnt a lot. His soft tyres already waning in terms of their overall pace. And Karim said, and I can tell you what he said, there's no way we won the race. Well, let me tell you, sir, you absolutely did. And, I mean, there's all the celebration you need. Absolute elation for our new Creator Series F1 champion, F2 champion, straight to F1 champion, Hayden. It's not a bad one for the resume, is it?
No, just changing my stat now. There we go. 23 races won from pole position out of 104 races. Well done to Formula Karim taking the championship as well. It all came down really, though, to that incident between Tiamat Marduk, Formula Kai, and Razin Shy. Ben, he has a history in the Creator Series of maybe not leaving a load of room on the exit of a corner, squeezing to the maximum and giving a driver a choice of, you know, backing out, or an incident may potentially come. And that unfortunately happened for him today. And we can look through that once again, that incident that happened between him and Razin. But I don't think Razin particularly did anything wrong, did he?
No, he didn't, and yes, we'll have a look through it. No, Razin was the innocent party, really, in all of it. As we have Tiamat Marduk, so we have Formula Kai leading on those softs in the slipstream. Ben looks to the outside. Kai boxes him in. As a result, that allows Karim to swoop down the inside and catch Ben napping, as Kai continues to back up the Mercedes driver on the outside. And as you can see, the gap all the time. Ben was trying to close it. He put his hands up immediately and said an immediate apology to Razin, but no consolation from wing damage. And so Razin tries to continue on his way. Luckily for Razin, didn't get any damage at all, unbelievably. As a result, Lolly taking advantage, Infratic taking advantage, and that was the sinking feeling for the reigning champion. That's the aftermath of it, but Razin was looking round the outside of the Mercedes man, and the Silver Arrow squeezing some more, and there was just no room left for Razin as the Alpine ace was forced towards the barrier. Tiamat Marduk coming off worse in all of that affair, but Razin really the innocent party. And like you say, Hayden, I think that is the moment where we can agree that was the moment the championship pendulum swang. That was the moment where Karim had the ball in his court to clinch that title today.
Certainly so. Razin would have been screaming, "I was there, buddy. I was there." But at the end of the day, an incident happened between, but there was a last gasp chance, wasn't there, with Adam Sanderson putting it in the wall, bringing out the safety car and giving Ben an opportunity to pit for a new front wing and try and make up a couple of positions. Maybe it should have come out a bit earlier. Maybe he should have made that decision earlier and given Ben the maximum chance of gaining positions. But I believe we have a clip to take a look at Adam Sanderson's DNF. So if we get off this screen, don't want to look at my face anymore, get back to Carl and we'll have a look at Adam Sanderson's DNF to see what happened and occurred for him.
I'm scrolling up like an absolute madman trying to find it now. You are absolutely right, though. I mean, you know what? We'll keep the tinfoil hats on. We love it. We love a bit of dubious Crashgate here and there occasionally. And you're absolutely right. It was dubious Crashgate. Adam had no front wing at this point. There was all sort of chaos and conundrums that went completely against the Mercedes man's fortune. And so he has a decision to make. I think Tom Wilkinson hit it on the head really well when he said perhaps a lap earlier would have been the ideal moment. So Ben didn't lose too much time. Either way, through the left-hander, and then suddenly, you know, it's the damnedest of things, really, as he heads down the Las Vegas Strip. It's a steering failure, turns right into the wall, and we can confirm it was a steering failure. Nothing dubious about that whatsoever. Extremely unfortunate for the Mercedes man, as he shares commiserations with his teammate. We'll never know if he was smiling or not, but either way, terminal damage, and it gave Team at Marduk just a little lifeline to hold on to.
I just absolutely love that those two are in the same room together. And maybe one day we'll have a Creator Series LAN event where all creators are sat that close to each other and we'll make for something very, very exciting. I think it's time to bring in one of our championship contenders. Sadly, the one who lost out. But let's get a chat with him. Bring Ben in and get his feelings on the race. Today he's currently deafened at the moment. We'll have to wait and see whether he undeafens from his drag in. He hasn't seemed to do so yet. So Carl, we'll carry on talking a little bit until he is with us for the moment. No, there he is. He's back. Okay, he has undeafened. Ben, commiserations on the championship. Let's get your feelings after that race.
Is my mic working?
We can hear you perfectly.
Okay,
fine.
all right. It wasn't moved. My thing wasn't. Yeah, it's all right. I mean, I ultimately ended my own race, didn't I? Just moving in to Razan's line. So that was the GG, really. It would have been nice to keep the battle going on track, like 1v1 until the very end, but wasn't to be in the end. So yeah, GG's to Karim. I mean, dude won 7 races this season, so if anyone deserved it, it was him.
Is it time to put the slippers up? You know, gone for 2 championships, been at the fight for so many seasons. Are we going to be back for F1 25?
No, that's it. I'm retiring now. I'm doing a doing a Rosberg. I'm out of here. No, I'll be back for F1 25. I can't promise my attendance will be as bulletproof as it was this season, which was a bit of a fluke. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Maybe not going for the championship. I don't know. I might be absolute crap at next game. So it's too early to say. But I'm looking forward to just taking Creator Series as it is and just having a fun time, which we're going to have on 25.
I can hear Adam in the background laughing away. What was it like to have him in the same room? And will we see this more in the future? Because I personally enjoyed it.
I mean, if we're going to be teammates next season and his internet is going to be as bad as he's saying it is, then I'm going to have to start charging Adam rent.
Get another rig. Proper stretch.
It's just about him in the background.
I can rent the room next.
He's complaining about not having a good enough rig. He wants more leg room.
What is he on at the moment? Is he just on the floor?
I mean,
What's he in at the moment? Is he just sat on the floor?
Fine.
He's on a wheel stand on an office chair. And you know how strong he likes his force feedback with his pedals as well, like as strong as you, mate. So he jumps on the brake pedal and he's like going flying like a meter backwards.
He's shooting off down the stairs.
Yeah. he's doing his best, bless him. He actually had decent pace. He had like I swear down about 2 or 3 minutes of like on track time before we jumped into the race today. So Adam had it all to do.
All for nothing, because no drivers and no constructors championship either. But it's been a great season. It's been enjoyable from our standpoint. What has been your favourite moment?
Favorite moment.
Gareth, if you are.
Adam's just in his own world, mate.
You're chatting to me right now. That's fine. Yeah, bring Adam in if you want.
Adam, come over here if you want to take over everything.
Hold on. Let me read.
Oh my god. Okay. Favorite moment this season. I think probably Kota was pretty crazy with the front wing damage coming through the field on way better tires than everyone else. That was always fun. It's those moments where like you're down the order and you got to fight back. Those are pretty good. And
Silverstone as well for you. Had one of those in Silverstone too.
Silverstone was good, and honestly, some of the wild cards which thrown through a spanner into the works.
Great wild card.
If I speak,
we both got a lot of points from Styrophobia. It was a great wild card.
You scored the most points there that season in that one race. So yeah, I mean minimum fuel and bye Adam, and this is an absolute shambles by the way. Minimum fuel and the tire puncture one. I know that was a controversial race, but I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. Has he ended his stream now? Can we get Adam on the mic, or is he?
He has ended. Do you want to?
Come on, Adam. Come on in.
Can you hear us, Adam?
Come, get him close to the mic. He's got to come. He's got to come close to the mic.
Yeah, I'll hand the headphones.
Okay, just make him sit on your lap.
Podium interview room.
Oh, it's the interview.
Adam, I'm not surprised you don't know about this because, of course, you've never had a podium. So that's fair enough.
Bring back F2, mate.
Are you sat on Ben's lap right now?
I want to be. That sounds like a great idea.
I asked Ben earlier about you two being, of course, sat within meters of each other. Is this something we're going to see in the future? Because I enjoy it.
Depends if the OpenReach engineer can actually sort my wired connection at my new flat. We will see. I'm enjoying it, though. It was good fun, but I must say, I would love more legroom next time. So if any rig suppliers want to gift a nice little rig for Benjamin and myself, that would be ideal.
I'm sure he's got a load in the garage spare. I'm surprised he put you with such small legroom. Was it a bit hot in there? You know, having both of you racing at the same time. I know when I'm racing, my room usually gets quite warm and sweaty. I did see a fan that was like directly behind you. Was it a little bit warm?
Well, no, actually, no. There's a big Dyson fan behind Ben, like oscillating, and then there's also an aircon unit blowing down my neck, and it was kind of a bit. It was a bit soothing. It was almost like I was having a little hug and someone saying, "You've got this, dude," whilst getting ploughed by just about every reserve driver under the sun. But
that's Creator Series for you. That's what we come to expect.
Oh dear, yeah. No, don't get me wrong. Like, it was good fun. I've enjoyed the season. I wish I could have raced a few more. But again, congratulations to Karim. Congratulations to the McLaren boys. Well deserved. I mean, what did Karim win? 7 races, which is mad. Absolutely mad. Well deserved. Next game. Not only do I feel like there's going to be an incredible story mode up for grabs, but you'll also see my face atop the podium, not just in Breaking Point, let me tell you.
Okay, well, I certainly look forward to that. And I look forward to the pigs flying as well.
I sense some distrust in your tone.
Always a pleasure to chat to you, and I look forward to hearing more from you next season, Adam and Ben. Thank you very much to both of you, and enjoy the rest of your evenings, guys.
Cheers, Nando's.
Other food chains are available. Okay, just letting everyone know at home. Right, let's bring in our champion, Formula Karim. It's time to talk to him now, as we're going to drag him into the interview waiting room. And there he is, Formula Karim. You are our Season 9 World Champion. Congratulations. Tell us how you're feeling right now.
Oh, I don't think words could describe how I'm feeling, to be honest. It's yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I still don't really believe it happened, but I think, yeah, I don't know. We made it in the end, boys.
So many things happened in that race. Of course, let's start off early doors. You were working really well with Formula Kai, the two formulas together, back and forth, trading DRS and maintaining that gap and pulling the top 5 away from your championship rival, Ben, Tom and Lolanoba. And then, of course, the pit stop happens straight away. Safety car comes out, gives Ben the advantage to put him alongside you. How are you feeling at that moment?
I just kind of expected it at that point, you know. It's not like he has insane luck every race, but Ben is a little bit known for having good safety car luck. So I wasn't, you know, I wasn't feeling downbeat or anything. I really wanted to come into this race and the sprint. Just this weekend as a whole, I really wanted to come in very chill, just keep my head the entire race, which I think I did a pretty good job of. after I made a few silly mistakes in Saudi with the pressure getting to me a little bit. So I think that definitely helped a lot. And yeah, I was feeling fine after the first safety car.
Was it a lot easier for you knowing that Ben had the incident late on into the race to give you that buffer? Because it didn't really matter in your race. Yes, okay, you wanted the race win, get that pole to race win, of course, end on a high, but you didn't need it. You just needed to make sure you finished, 2 points ahead of Ben, and you had the title.
Yeah, I mean, if Ben was P1 there, I think if either of us were P1, we win, right? Because there's not enough points. You get 5 extra points in P2. So if I saw him P1, then of course I'd go for the win because that's how I beat him. But yeah, I think before he got that damage at the end, I'm not quite sure what happened. I need to watch it back. But I wanted to stay P2 behind him, and I was going to leave a good gap and just stay in his DRS, but leave a 8/10 gap for the final lap. So I actually didn't want Kai going in front of me, even though I sort of knew he would attack me and Ben and just go for the win. I didn't really want him to overtake me, and then of course he defended from Ben, and I got the position, and then the incident happened. I would have rather stayed P2 and got him on the final lap myself. I won't lie, but that's just Creator Series sometimes. Sometimes people just want to go for the win, I guess.
What's your F1 25 going to be looking like? Are we going to see you back in the Creator Series, and what approach are you going to be taking to the new season?
Yeah, I mean, I hope we'll see me back in the Creator Series. And like I said earlier this season and at the start, I came into this season just wanting to take it chill, step by step. I'm the new guy, stuff like that. And it was kind of, thrown at me. Like, I didn't ask to be quick. I just am quick. So, I got thrust into this sensational title battle with Ben. But yeah, next season, I think now that I've got this championship and the constructors as well, I think we'll be having some fun, some last to first, maybe whack out the controller for a race or two. Who knows? I want to just enjoy the new game, enjoy being in Creator Series as much as possible.
That's, of course, if you get a seat next season, we don't ship you off to the top leagues in PSGL. Not
true.
Only are you the first person to win F2 and F1 and also do it back-to-back, but you've won the Constructors' Championship today, so I think it's only fitting. Let's bring in your teammate, Nick Flies, who, in all fairness as well, had a brilliant race, finishing in 6th position, I believe, from 16th. So 10 places gained and a great sprint race too to bring home the points for McLaren. Nick, the Constructors' Championship is with you for Season 9. How are you feeling?
Hello, I'm feeling amazing, bro. I had so many issues at the start of the race, so I'm so happy that I even finished the race. I'm happy for Kareem. I know he's probably getting some nice payback from some woman maybe tonight, so we're all gonna be happy. Me as well. Extremely happy. He kind of carried this season, let's be for real, but I helped him a lot in the qualies, which I think also added for the championship fight. Both me and Kareem kind of said it was kind of over at the middle of the season because we were like 40-50 points off, so I'm feeling great.
Well, he mentioned earlier on, we chatted to him after qualifying, that he called you, and I quote, the best wingman that he's had, because the qualifying performances were a huge help with the slipstreams that you gave him. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about how you two work together this season.
I mean, honestly, it's not like he told me to help him. We just kind of played it smart. When he was on a lap and me on an out lap, I would give him a suck, and then on his in lap he would give me a suck. So it's kind of fair for both of us. And a lot of people complained to me about that, and to Kareem, because it was a bit unfair to them. But it's game is game. Their loss.
The game.
Damn right, man. And it's their loss that Razin is in the management. He could have picked me. I'm just saying. Anyway, no, but we helped each other a lot, and he also helped me multiple times, so it was like 50-50 to be honest.
Well, it's glad to know that you had dinner for two and you both enjoyed yourselves this season. What are your plans for F1 25? Will we see you back in Creator Series, and will we see you potentially wanting to be Karim's teammate again? Or is there anybody else that you want to give the suck to?
Honestly, I think Karim. I think giving Karim the suck is probably the best out of all the drivers, in my opinion. He's also, yeah. There's no comment more on that, to be honest.
Again, word in my ear, actually. Karim has asked to have Gwatz as his teammate if he returns. How do you feel about that?
Let's get up, bro. You're washed, man. Come on, bro.
That's this allegedly. I prefer not to comment.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I do get a seat for next season. I don't know how the game will be. It all depends. I might be completely washed, or I actually might become the new Karim, and Karim becomes the new Nick Flies. Who knows? Who knows?
I'm looking forward to that. Right, I'm going to let you both get away because, of course, you've got a party to start. You've got some celebrations to get to. And I hope you enjoy this Constructors' Championship long into the night.
Thank you guys for the commentary as well. GG.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you to both of you. Thank you very much, boys. Right, let's bring you back in, Carl, and let's take a look at the drivers' standings to wrap it all up. Formula Karim is our champion of Season 9 with Team at Marduk. He made it very close, and he led for most of the season, but unfortunately it all fell away right at the death in P2. GB was missing from the final round. The attendance wasn't quite there, but still managed to finish in P3. What can he do if he shows up every week like Ben does? Meraki finishing the season in 4th, with Alex Gillen in 5th. Lolanova, a good charge in that race, picking up 3rd position and finishing in 6th in the standings, with Razan Shine 7th with that P2 as well. Formula Kai, fantastic pace from him this season, but the consistency wasn't quite there, so he will finish in 8th on 121 points, with Infratic with some really fantastic races in the end in Saudi and also here in Vegas. Pushes him up the order and up into 9th, with Ricky, my teammate, in 10th. That guy Vince, 11th in the standings. Noguera 12th. Zafso 13th. Nick Flies in 14th. And we won't get to look at the rest of them because it's now cut to us two. No. You don't want to look at the standings. Don't bring it back. Tom in 15th. Then Scott Taylor. Then Adam Sanderson. Then Mtati, who as a reserve finished in 18th. Myself down in 19th. Let's just skip over that one. And Tom 97 in 20th, bringing up the top 20 drivers. Of course, we've had so many fantastic creators and drivers across this season that aren't unfortunately on the standings there, but shout out to all of them for providing amazing content over the whole entire season. Carl, it's been a fun one, hasn't it? As we now go through the team standings.
It absolutely has. And McLaren, in the end, clear winners of the Constructors' title. Mercedes take P2, Aston Martin in P3, V-Carb in P4, contactless transaction there, and then Alpine were the ones that managed to prize away P5, courtesy of the good results from Razin and from Tom. So well done to them. Haas in 6th, Red Bull falling to 7th, Ferrari in 8th, Williams in 9th, Sauber last of the running order in P10. I was going to say in the driver's standings department, Meraki, even in the world of mathematics, despite having a bigger number, still wasn't able to beat GB. I was going to call skill issue, but as a result,
he did actually beat him. The standings were wrong. Yeah. He did actually beat him. Meraki on 227 points, I believe. GB on 226. Yeah. It's just Gareth in the production's going to get taken out because he's messed up there. No, he's done a fantastic job all evening. Just a small little error, but we've corrected that, and that's what we're here to do. Is to tell you guys at home what is the actual proceedings, and that is the proceedings. Meraki does in fact finish ahead of GB by 1 singular point. Let's bring in the other two commentators here, Tom Knight and Tom Wilkinson. Fantastic season, not only just a finale. Let's get your most memorable moments before we round off the show. Starting with you, TK, best moment of the season.
Oh, it has to be Gillen and Monza, because realistically we were there.
Love it, absolutely love it. Tom Wilkinson, what about yours?
I can't say the same thing now, that's the problem, because that is undoubtedly the best moment of the season. I think Kota was real fun. We had a lot of topsy-turvy races. The end with the safety car calamities we had as well, and Ben winning it on the last lap. I'll go Kota.
And finally to you, Carl, on our clip book tonight, what was your best moment of the season?
It's a tricky one to pin down, you know. There was so many marvelous moments that has ultimately culminated in a supreme season overall. Let's be honest. But if I had to pick one moment, I'll pick two moments. I think number one was just this entire final round. It encapsulated everything about Creator Series, all of the drama, all of the content that we get, and all of the fun for all of you watching as well. What a time. That, and in a close second place, was TK getting rickrolled at the Australian Grand Prix.
I thought we'd forgotten about this.
No, I hadn't.
Oh, thank you very much, guys. A great season. We all look forward to being back on F1 25. A new game, new challenges. What can we expect from the new season of Creator Series? Is it all going to be up in the air? TK, start with you.
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting challenge. Of course, it's a new handling model, new access. Who knows? Might even see a few reverse tracks dotted into the calendar. And I think it's going to be a steep learning curve for a few people.
Tom Wilkinson, which driver do you feel like is the best to adapt to a new situation? Who's going to jump on this new game and be quick from the start?
I think it's very easy to say the old timers, as they might not like me putting it, the likes of Tim McMahon, the likes of Alex Gillen. They'll be quick from the outset. I don't think too much will change. I think initially we'll have a nice tightening of the pack, which I think we'll all love to see. Maybe season 10 or season 1 on F1 25 could be the closest we've seen so far. I'm going to put my money, though, on GB winning the first championship of season 10, if he actually turns up.
Well, I was going to add on to the end of that, if he actually shows up for more than 5 races a season. And Carl, finally to you. Of course, we're going on to a new game. Who's going to be the ones that might potentially fall off? Who's the ones who aren't quick to adapt to a new game?
Really, I mean, like Tom said previous to me, is that, of course, you've got Tim at Marduk, you've got GB. They've had some experience with the game already. They understand sort of the inner workings of how the handling's going to function, etc. So they might have that initial advantage. But I'm hoping it will just be a really close season. I think Kareem's demonstrated across multiple games. I've learned he's a sweat on who was a sweat on F1 23 as well. He's consistent across multiple games. You've got Ben, who was quick on both this game and the previous game. Alex Gillen will be up there. GB will be up there. It's anyone's for the taking, really. Of course, there might be the reintroduction of the hard tyres as well. We'll see how that tyre model plays out and whatnot. But the story of F1 24, we can finally say it. In Vegas, he rolled his luck, but the cream of the crop rises to the top.
And that is where we're going to end tonight's show. Thank you, everyone at home who has been watching tonight, and of course, over the rest of the season. Thank you. Let's bring them up again to Tom Knight, to Tom Wilkinson, and to Carl for joining us on the broadcast tonight. Thank you to George Morgan, Daniel Gilligan, It's Chocolate, Scotty Designs, and Deaflink for being on the broadcast over this season as well. And of course, we are very excited for a new season. Season 9 is over. Karim is our champion. We'll see you on F1 25 on May the 31st.